I've failed in a lot of different ways.
Get your shit together. Get it all together and put it in a backpack. All your shit, so it's together. And if you gotta take it somewhere, you know? Take it to the shit store and sell it. Or put it in a shit museum. I don't care what you do. You just gotta get it together. Get your shit together.
Hey everybody, it's Aldo Gandhi, and I just want to let you know really quickly that our swag shop is reopened. DeepDishTees.com is where you go, and that's tees with T-E-E-S. Clever name, guys. They're the new home of our merchandise. You can get t-shirts, you can get caps, you can get coffee mugs, you can get hoodies, you can get all sorts of good stuff, and you'll help out the bar room with the purchase. So head over to DeepDishTees.com.
Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
Put the children to bed. It's time for Dan and Aldo to bare their souls.
I love the Chicago Bears more than I do masturbating, and that is a lot.
Then, with 3 seconds left, Bob Avellini throws a 30-something yard touchdown pass to Greg Latta, and the Bears win, and I literally shit my pants. I swear to God, I literally did.
Eric Kramer, for me, I love the guy. He's a tragic figure. I mean, he embodies all that is.
If they don't run the ball here, I'm going to vomit. I swear to God.
Look, I don't mean any disrespect. He just didn't play that well. Not for a guy of his caliber.
You know, they won, but I'm going to be miserable all week because they stunk.
I don't really have any recollection of that at all, but I guess perhaps I blacked it all out.
So, Dan, tape is the ultimate tool for scouts and for coaches to evaluate players, to detect plays and so forth. And they spend hours looking at tape, right? Why do they so often get shit wrong?
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan and Aldo.
Love Tuesday nights, because Dan and I get together and talk football, talk soccer, talk movies. Yeah, hey, I just wrote some lyrics to the song. What do you think, Dan?
I like it. And who thought Phil was the only one that could freestyle?
As soon as I said that, I said, "Oh, here goes a Phil reference." He's not the only one that can write music. He's a pretty good singer, though, isn't he?
He was good at everything,
yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, it's very true. I wrote some lyrics to a couple of his big hits, but that's about it. And I sang a couple of songs too. Maybe one of these I'll get those out of the mothballs. I actually sang a song in praise of Ryan Pace one time, and I'm afraid to play it because I look really, really stupid doing that. What do you think about all these moves today with the Chicago Bears roster? What's the first thing that struck you?
Well, to me, it was corner because Trufant got released and so did Burns.
Mm-hmm.
So there goes all your experience. I mean, everyone keeps saying, they must be looking at the waiver wire, but we're 20th in the order of succession of trying to claim somebody. So it's not like, well, it's automatic. The Bears are going to file a claim on somebody and they're going to get them. I mean, more than likely they're not. So the corner thing jumped out to me. So what does that mean then? I guess Shelley's going to be playing in the slot. And then what's his name? Number 22. I always fuck up his name. The guy that everyone was praising at the end of last season.
Kindle Vildor.
Yeah. So he must be the starter as well.
Yeah, I'm looking. I got the 53-man roster as it stands today, and you better believe it will look different tomorrow at this time. The defensive backs are the cornerbacks, I should say, Xavier Crawford, Jalen Johnson, Duke Shelley, and Kindle Vildor. We know Johnson is, of course, the starter, and he's probably going to play well because nobody's going to throw at him. They're going to be throwing at the other guys. And so Kindle has got to really step up. He showed bits of promise, but then he also did some things that had make you worried. And Duke Shelley had, in the entire preseason, I thought I saw maybe 2 good plays from Duke Shelley and a lot of unremarkable play. And Xavier Crawford, I don't know enough about. So you better believe with that 20th spot of the waiver claim on Wednesday, that they are going to be targeting a cornerback. And they may even go back and re-sign Artie Burns. You know, at the last Greg Gabriel Talks Football show, he talked about all the complexities of putting together this 53-man roster, and that there are some veterans that are cut and then brought back the next day, and they're basically then are paid on a week-to-week basis. I mean, the players' union is probably one of the worst that I can imagine, but that's how it works. So they're not guaranteed to pay, you know, let's say they bring Artie Burns back, although he might be signed by somebody else, but let's say Artie Burns. So whatever he was making and supposed to make in 2021, now they can break it up into 1/16. We saw that happen, a year or two ago, where who was the one player that was always being cut and then brought up on Thursday or Friday? I forgot who that was, but
I thought if they were on the roster for week 1, then they were guaranteed to get paid the whole season.
Right. So that's why they won't bring them back until later. So after the first game or something like that. It's too fucking complicated for me.
You're saying Burns could be signed before the Cincinnati game.
Correct. Exactly.
Well, what are you going to do? Just give up like 6 touchdowns against the Rams first?
Well, apparently,
just because you don't want to play him or pay him, rather?
Apparently, they believe a little bit more in Vildor than they do in Burns. And you know, I saw Burns make some good plays. He played a good aggressive corner on those games that were available on TV. I didn't get a chance to get out to Hallis Hall and see any of the practices, which is a big part of what they base their reviews on. In fact, Gabriel was saying it's the tape at practice that many times weighs more than the tape against in the preseason game, which is a little odd to me because you're going up against competition that you'll see at the NFL level. But, somebody was saying today that the speed of the game, I think it was Shea Pepler, who's working over at one of the cable sports networks. She was saying that there are 3 speeds to the game. There's preseason speed, there's regular season speed, and there's postseason speed. And so the game, so what they are seeing in preseason is probably the slowest variation, which is we're going to talk about this in depth about Justin Fields not starting week 1. But some of that might have to do with him standing on the sidelines and seeing how fast an NFL regular season game is compared to what we saw in the preseason. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. Because you got the best of the best now. Week 1, when you're up against the Rams, those guys are going to be flying around a lot faster than the Bills were with their second stringers when Fields was in there, and the 2 other preseason games. We got a nice collection of people in the chat room, and one of the first comments up there were people talking about the Eric Kramer interview. You yourself mentioned it a couple times in the days we had off. What stood out to you about that interview?
Well, I didn't go back and listen to the non-football segment of it because it was a little, it's a little difficult, and that we knew that going into it. And as you and I both self-critiqued and thought that maybe we didn't ask enough questions to guide what he was saying, or shape it. And I did a couple of times. I tried to show that the charges were dropped which from my chair was saying that, well, they're saying that you didn't hit the lady, but I understand why he felt that that still wasn't sufficient, because when you're the one accused, you would be sensitive about that. But those kind of things, I just didn't want to relive. I did re-listen to the football portion, and I enjoyed it. Ironically, I just emailed him a moment ago and told him that as I left my house tonight coming to work, that I was recording his last game. So if all goes well, like, for example, if the power doesn't go off or something awful, that I should be able to finalize the disc in the morning and ship him his games, which has been an ordeal. I told you, one of my recorders just fucking shit the bed and the power won't come on. So I have to use my backup one right now, which is kind of my Justin Fields, and I don't like doing that.
It
but
should work better than your starting power.
It works better than the original one. Then yeah, but I bought another one, which is quote unquote refurbished, because I always want to have one. They're hard to come around now, where it's antiquated technology. But I had to buy it from Ontario, Canada, so it's not supposed to be here for like 3 weeks. Yeah. So I definitely want to have it. Plus, I told you I had to buy that new TV. The smart TV is sending a signal to block some of the stuff I've been recording. I've been able to circumvent it, but I just hope that they don't block the Bear games, when the season starts. Worst case scenario, I get the other one that's coming from Canada, and I'll hook it up to a standard definition TV. And they can't fuck with me on that. That TV is like from 1996. So there's no way of communicating with that and scrambling a signal.
Did you get a chance? So you didn't listen to the suicide part and the stuff with the ex-wife and so forth. And a lot of people in the chat room, by the way, Dan, are really complimenting your part of the interview, or your role in the interview, your questions and so forth. So if you're feeling uneasy about your role in this, I haven't seen a negative comment. I've seen over half a dozen positive comments. So you did a great job, brother.
I appreciate that. I took it as, something responsible. Like, it wasn't just like there was a great deal of me just being a fan. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I knew it wasn't, just, can I have your autograph, sir? I mean, there was more to it than that. So I put a lot of thought into what I was going to ask and all that stuff, as you already know.
Right.
So I took it very seriously.
Yeah, you sure did. We normally, our listeners and followers should know that Dan and I rarely talk about the upcoming show. We don't do an outline. I write a couple of things just to sort of help navigate the show a bit, but we rarely talk about, the interview or what we're going to talk about, blah, blah, blah. But this time, Dan was like, I need to talk to you. We got to talk. And we had a nice half-hour discussion, and we sorted things out, and he did a great job. It was outstanding. And and the only blemish that I would say is that I wish we would have provided a little bit more context to some of the things he was talking about in his personal life, in particular, the actions of his second wife, who she has allegedly stolen money from him, and blah, blah, blah. So, but I'm glad that you and Eric now are fast friends. When's he going to have you over for dinner?
I don't know if he'll even respond to this one, but I just wanted him to know that I wasn't lying about the games, and that I am going to email him tomorrow and give him a tracking number, assuming I get to ship them. And when Trump fucked up the mail, usually you could get something from East to West Coast in 2-3 days. It's like a goddamn 10-day thing now.
Yeah.
Where Trump was slowing down the mail before the election. And that's not a left-wing conspiracy. That's a fact.
All right. Everyone in the chat room is talking about this roster, so we're going to get to that. And they're also talking about Eric Kramer. Ryan just posted that Eric Kramer interview was amazing, and on it goes. But
one more thing real quick,
sure,
about Eric Kramer. I hope, and I'm not trying to get us to just let's pound our chest and compliment one another, but do you think, in all honesty, after he turned off his mic and his cam and he was done, do you think he felt some level of catharsis from talking all that shit? I mean,
I don't know.
I
It's
feel like
hard
he
to say.
expressed himself very well.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's something that this isn't the first time he's talked about it publicly. What I'm hoping is that he felt good about all the time we gave him to share his story, to kind of ruminate about it. There were many. If you look at the video of him, he's searching for the right words, and I mean, he can recall everything perfectly now. But he was very thoughtful in that interview. That's some of the look at Ravi says Kramer was very introspective. I'm sure it took a lot of work for him to get his mental health to where it is now. You are absolutely right about that, Ravi. And by the way, on some of our shows, we're starting shows with a 2-minute bit about him talking about his suicide, and then the suicide prevention phone number at the end of that clip. We want to kind of use it as a public service announcement here at the Barroom Network. I didn't use it today, frankly, because I forgot to post it, but it was played yesterday on South Burbs Hitmen, and we'll have it on our other shows as well.
Yeah, 2 things that he said that was, I don't want to say controversial, because we're not on FM radio, so it's okay. But he used the word whore, which I'm a big fan of. But under the context, he said that he was pretty angry at the time. And then the second one was when he took a little bit of a jab at the policeman.
Yes.
When he was saying that, because you've got a high school diploma, which again, I understand why he's upset under his context. So I think if I am going to brag about, because I've also been critical saying that I felt that I didn't, ask the questions appropriately to sort of guide that portion of it. But furthermore, no one else was going to let him be so unfiltered.
Exactly.
If he was on Dan Bernstein, for example, he wasn't going to just be able to say what exactly he wanted to say. And I felt like we did do that.
Yeah. And for that, I'm really, really happy. And we could have, like you said, provided a little bit more context and directed things, but you're absolutely right. I'm really happy that he got to share his side of the story, and hopefully we can have him back on to talk about the current Bears, or I'm going to send him an invitation to join Joe Mandel on the Fantasy Football Goon Show, given that he's doing that fantasy football podcast.
Maybe he can get us in touch with Conway.
Yeah,
because you said Curtis has talked about coming on here and just it never worked out.
That's right. I actually have his email. I can send him another email. But yeah, if Eric can help us with that would be awesome.
Or maybe if we tell Conway that Eric was on, maybe that kind of builds. I don't know. Like we were just talking about you last week with Eric Kramer. So how would you like to come on?
Right. Hugh says, exactly, Dan. Sometimes an interview just needs to breathe. You are so right. Both of you guys. I mean, aren't we tired of the fast-cutting interviews where everything moves? I mean, yeah, I have a short attention span, but there are some times where you really need to let interviews just take their time, move slower than what we're accustomed to. And that was absolutely perfect. Anything else regarding Eric Kramer before we move on?
No, I just hope that like I said, at the end of the day, I hope that he was happy about his appearance as well.
Cool. I'm sure he is, and I'll follow up with him and his agent or his PR guy. 53-man roster. Now, I should say, again, as I put the roster up on the screen, that this thing is going to look different in the next day or two. In fact, Greg Gabriel and I, we usually do our show on Monday, but he said we should wait till Thursday because on Thursday, we will have a much, much clearer picture of what this 53-man roster will look like. He didn't want to do it tomorrow. He wanted to do it Thursday. So Greg, of course, being the former director of personnel for the Chicago Bears, would know when it's a good time. So we'll talk about that more in depth. And then Danny has been asking me, man, I'd like to come on and talk about the roster. Want to do it Wednesday? So maybe Danny will be with us. But I got to ask you before we talk about the 53-man roster, Dan, did you get a chance to see Bear Truth with Danny Shipman and myself?
I apologize. I did not.
Shame on you. Shame on you. I'm going to play a quick promo for that. I know it's early for promos, but I'm really proud of Danny Shimon. And there's no narration to this, Dan, and I know you're not seeing the screen, but I collected a few of the comments from people who saw the debut episode of Bear Truth, Danny Shimon reviewing Bears tape, and posted them on here. So for those of you looking at a video or computer screen, this is for you. As the graphic says, the next episode will be Thursday, and Danny will be breaking down a number of plays from the last preseason game, and we'll also talk about the roster then. So Danny Shimon doing a great job. He is developing almost as big a fan club as you are, Dan.
Hey, he gave us a compliment on our Kramer interview as well.
That's right. That's right. And man, and getting a compliment from Dan, it's really, really tough. I mean, the only people he compliments are the guys that he scouts and he likes. Just kidding. All right. 53-man roster. Your number one concern is the cornerback position. I don't think there's going to be a lot of argument on that, but the other position that stands out to me is the offensive lineman position, and in particular, the tackle position. The 10 offensive linemen currently on the roster, Alex Burrs, who has played some tackle, but I don't think he can play well enough to be counted on game after game after game. Larry Borum, the 5th round draft pick. A lot of people think that he could potentially be a starting tackle in the NFL as soon as this year. He played some left tackle, and they've liked what they've seen so far. But I don't think that Larry Borum is ready week 1, week 2, or anytime early part of the season to take over that job. He needs more reps. James Daniels, what do you think about James Daniels? There's a lot of people in the chat room who are really down on James Daniels, the 2nd round draft pick from 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, I don't want to say that I'm down on him, but it just feels like thus far, I wouldn't be shocked if you told me, hey, 1 year from now, this guy's going to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, if he plays really well, maybe he gets a new contract. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's another guy that we say, well, we missed on him.
Yeah, and a guy that you are not fond of, Elijah Wilkinson, is been retained and is going to play one of the tackle positions as a backup currently.
As a backup,
right?
If there's a hope in this season, this guy is a backup.
Well, the funny thing is that Danny Shimon said, I've seen a few plays of him at left tackle, and I think there's some promise that he could potentially play that position. And I don't want to get what he said incorrect. He didn't say as a week-to-week starter, but if needed, he believes Wilkinson can come in and contribute if he continues to progress.
Do you remember that play in 2018 when Khalil Mack had just come to the Bears against Detroit, when he just ran over the fucking tackle and got the sack on Stafford in the same play? He basically sacked both of them.
Yes.
Yeah, it was just a highlight of all highlights, that kind of thing.
Right.
It's right up there with the backwards sack on Rodgers in 2018. That play of Mack against Detroit, there was a similar moment in the preseason game when Fields got hit and Wilkinson was pancaked all in the same play. That just like, that's the image I'll have in my head of that guy until something else. Yeah, it must be something he does positive in a game to replace that image.
Kenny Persinger says that Wilkinson sucks balls at tackle, so he agrees with you.
Hi, man, and that Lachavius, whatever the fuck, Simmons or whatever, that's
his name.
Oh my goodness gracious! They were trying to say that this guy could play left tackle, and he was getting dominated at the right side. I was like, man, I'd rather have Bobby Massey here than this guy.
Well, don't get me started with that whole thing, but Charles Little and Bobby Massey, I told people, are going to be missed this year because I just didn't have confidence that Ryan Pace was going to be able to replace those guys immediately and to rely on Tevin Jenkins to be the starting left tackle. I mean, I don't want to get back on my soapbox on that, but it's just ridiculous. Imagine if Jason Peters would have signed elsewhere. Who the fuck would be playing left tackle right now for the Chicago Bears?
Alex Bars, maybe?
Maybe. Watch
Who knows?
it,
They probably put
Andy.
Whitehair out there. Like, let's try another position with Cody.
Yes, exactly.
Cody and Kyle Long, man, they just like their whole time have had to shift positions.
Mule Skinner is informing us that Rashard Coward is available.
Fuck that. Fuck that. I'd rather have what's the other guy we drafted real late last year?
The guy who was what drafted last year?
Yeah, he's on the roster now, and he's also equally like, oh, I'm scared of that guy too. Help me out here. I'm not looking at the roster.
Offensive lineman?
Yes.
Jermaine Feedy. No, it can't be him. Yeah, the 10 that they've kept are Alex Bars, Larry Borum, James Daniels, Jermaine Feedy, Tevin Jenkins, Sam Mustipher, Jason Peters, Latavius Simmons, Cody Whitehair, and Elijah Wilkinson. Those are the 10.
Oh, well, the other guy must have gotten cut. Who was the guy we had last year then? Arlington Hambright.
Oh, yeah, he was cut. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say Coward was so awful that I would rather see Arlington Hambright. I wonder if Hambright will show up on the practice squad, though.
I have a feeling. In fact, I put together a list of the guys that were cut, and I put little asterisk marks next to the fact that these are guys I consider returning to the team in the practice squad, and that includes Daniel Archambault, the defensive tackle, that new wide receiver they picked up like last week, Isaiah Coulter. Yeah, I don't think that they would have picked him up unless they were in love with him already. He got playing time in that game. He did okay.
I bet Graham, the guy in the secondary, Graham,
yes.
I'd say he gets on the practice squad.
Totally with you. I got him there on the list. Thomas Graham, Dieter Iceland, the offensive lineman. He's from, I think, Germany. I think he's just another perfect candidate for the practice squad. Not only can he, basically the practice squad is to get guys out there to help you practice, but at the same time, you can develop these guys, and Dieter has that chance to potentially be a starter in the NFL or be
How about
a regular.
Tyrone Wheatley Jr.?
I didn't put an asterisk on his name. I did not. I put an asterisk on Artie Burns, although he is free right now to sign with any NFL team. But the new rules on the 16-man practice squad is that there are no limitations as to how much NFL experience you've had or not had. Before, it was like you had to have like 2 or 3 years. And after that, if you had more than that NFL experience, you were not eligible for the practice squad. But because of COVID, you can have all 16 guys can have long time NFL experience.
So Pierce will be on there then. Artavius.
I got him asterisk. Yep. Ryan Null, I got asterisk. Artavius Pierce, yes. Daz Newsome, Arlington Hambright. I think they're not going to give up on him. Mike Pennell, the veteran guy from Kansas City. I kind of doubt he's going to get signed anywhere. So I
thought he got put on injured reserve.
Did he? I may have missed that, but I saw on the Bears website or somewhere that he was just released, but I may have missed an update on this when I created this. So
look that up.
Anyways, yeah, do that. And then there's 2 other guys, Trey Roberson, who had the interception for a touchdown. Why is he is not on the 53-man roster? I mean, why risk putting him on waivers? Because I think this guy can play. And Deontay Ruffin, the safety, I can see him coming back on the practice squad. I think he's shown some flashes and could potentially be the kind of guy who can help out this Bears defense. A lot of comments in the chat. Yeah, Ravi says Roberson earned the spot. Calvin says, yeah, they'll be back. Those guys will be back. Practice squad. PJ says he was playing great until he got hurt last year. Even Kreutz thought so. Are you talking about Sam Mustipher there? I think you are. Or no, Daniels. Yes, I agree. It is sad because James Daniels in his rookie season was up and down. And then he started to show some promise and he got injured. And that really, really was concerning because sometimes when a guy is starting to ascend and then he gets injured, all of a sudden it's like he's got to go back to his development time. So hopefully that's not going to be the case with him. Dan?
I'm still searching for this Mike Pennell thing. Here it is.
Okay.
It was 8 days ago from Greg Gabriel's favorite source, Pro Football Talk.
I didn't know
Bears put Jordan Lucas, Mike Pennell on injured reserve.
Okay, well, excuse my list.
It says Lucas had a quad injury. It does not explain. Pennell apparently has a groin. I don't know why. I didn't see him get hurt whenever he was in there, but apparently he's on injured reserve, though.
Yeah. PJ had a comment up, and I'm scrolling up to see if I can find it. He's saying that the Broncos are shopping around Bryce Callahan and none other than Kyle Fuller.
What would it take to bring Kyle back?
Wow.
Andy Dalton, straight up.
Well, they got two quarterbacks that allegedly that Fangio allegedly says. No, he doesn't allegedly say. He says that he's comfortable with either one of them. So that is, first of all, can Vic Fangio evaluate quarterback talent? I don't know.
Isn't it damning for the Broncos? Not that we're a Denver show, but again, I've got a friend who's a Bronco fan, and I've said this to him. I mean, I feel like starting Teddy for them is like us starting Dalton. Mm-hmm. Although Drew Clark has had a couple of starts, I mean, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, play the guy. I mean, just see what you got. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's no shot at Teddy. I'm just saying Teddy's got to be in his early 30s now versus this kid who's supposed to be their future, and he can't even get on the field.
Stephen Mee says, give Dieter Iceland a chance. Stop this anti-European bias, smiley face. I'm taking the knee till Dieter plays. I don't blame you. I think that guy's got potential. So Callahan would be a nice addition given that we don't know who the hell is playing that nickel cornerback spot. But as Mule Skinner says, man, he gets hurt so often.
Yeah, he did. He was hurt a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I'm surprised they didn't bring McManus back, given all the problems we've had on special teams in the preseason. It seems like every punt, someone's about to take it to the house.
Yep.
I mean, what's McManus doing?
I don't know if
he's probably sitting at the house, right? I mean, I don't think he's playing anywhere else. And you figure like the Bears, he was with the Bears as far back as when Lovey was still here in 2012.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. Holy moly.
Yeah, I would have brought him back just to help on special teams, if anything else.
Yeah, he's not with a team right now. He's a special, a free agent. He's 33 years old, so that's not going to help him.
Well, I mean, I don't know what was going on with Tabor's scheme in the preseason. You can say you're trying to play vanilla, but every game it was just like a fucking I don't want to say this phrase, but it popped in my head that when Hank Stram used it in the Super Bowl film against the Vikings, he says when he was criticizing Minnesota's coverage, he said it looked like a Chinese fire drill, which you cannot say in 2021. But
no.
But the point is, the Bears looked awful on special teams in their coverage teams.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, and I do think that there's just a lot of kind of trial and error going on there. They're throwing, different combinations of players to see what works best, giving guys an opportunity. A lot of the guys that were playing special teams, they're on that cut list right now. So, so I wouldn't worry too much about it, but I do worry about it just because of Dave Taub's track record with the Bears. I mean, since he's been the special teams coach, there seems to be nothing but problem after problem after problem. And thankfully, Cairo Santos has stopped the bleeding at the field goal kicking position. But beyond that, yeah, there have been times where the players on the field didn't even know the rules and they were penalized for that. And that you point the finger at Dave Tao.
Chris Tabor.
Chris Tabor. I'm sorry. Chris Tabor and Mike Fury are two buddies of Matt Nagy, and you just wonder why the hell are they still coaching?
It just feels like Nagy only likes other bald men. It's like a bald brother community thing.
BJ says that Sherrick McManus went to his old high school, so he's a big fan of him. Wish we had him back over. Give Sherrick a call, and tell him that we want him to be a guest on.
You know who else is coaching high school now is Trent Dilfer.
Really?
Yeah, Trent Dilfer I can't believe he had to apologize. He was on the sidelines last week, and he yelled at, I guess, his quarterback. And the way the world is in 2021, Trent Dilfer had to apologize for it.
That's it. Political correction has gone way too far. There have been some good things about political correction, but there's been now, I think the bad things are starting to catch up or may have overpassed the good things with political correction.
Yeah, I mean, if your coach can't, again, imagine if Mike Ditka was coming in now. There's no way. There would be sound bites every week of something he said, and there'd be pressure for the Bears to get rid of him.
Forget about it, man. Forget about it. All right. I wanted to also talk about some of the guys in the NFL, some notable names that have been cut. What did you think about Cam Newton being?
Cam Newton made me so jealous of Belichick having the temerity to make a move that he thought was good for it just feels like Belichick was probably like, man, I'm sorry, Cam. I like you. I respect you. But at the end of the day, I feel like the kid gives us the best chance to win. If I go ahead and cut you, maybe you can get on somewhere and try to start. And it's just like, Andy Dalton, though, we promised you in May that we were going to let you start. So we're going to follow through on that, even though it's obvious to everybody that you probably didn't earn the spot.
All right. Well, you opened up that can. We'll get back to the notables that have been released, but I've got some video here of people who, from the national media, who don't necessarily agree with the fact that Justin Fields should be the starting quarterback. Let me play this video, and then we will all talk.
Is Chris Sims on this?
No, I made sure not to put Chris Sims on this because we all know that you don't like Chris Sims. Here it is. It's about 2 minutes long. I think I won't even try to remember who the first guy is. Here it is.
Really what he's saying, they got 17 games to go, right? He's not going to waste a couple games messing around with an inefficient Andy Dalton. If Andy Dalton is doing his job and the things that he's supposed to do, he'll continue to be the starter. You can't look up and say that Andy Dalton is not capable of leading this team into the playoffs or winning the division. I don't look at last year Andy Dalton in Dallas. I don't look at the last 2 years in Cincinnati. He has much more talent around him now, especially on the defensive side of the ball, than he had in Dallas. Offensively, all he's got to do is not screw it up. If he can do that and they can win games, then he'll continue to be the starter. If they get out to a rocky start, then it's Justin Fields' time.
That's it.
That's all it is. It's not that difficult to see.
I couldn't
It's just
agree
not.
more.
I agree with you both.
We all concur.
All I'm saying, though, is it feels like it's a deep, dark hole that Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace have to claw their way out of.
But they don't if they do it this way. That's the thing. If they started Fields and
All right. I'm sorry. I loaded the wrong clip. That's the long version of that particular show. That was Keyshawn Johnson talking with Shea Pepler, who was hosting the show, and Jay Williams. What did you think about what Keyshawn Johnson was saying, that you can win with Andy Dalton? Don't rush the young guy out there. You'll be fine. And if he's not fine, then you still got, 16, 15 games left in the season, and you put Fields out there. What do you think about what he said?
I hope he's right. I mean, he was the number one player selected in the draft in 96.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows more about football than I'll ever know. So I hope he's correct on this. From my chair, I disagree with him, though. And but maybe I'm blinded by favoritism toward the Bears, and maybe he's being as objective as he possibly can be. I don't know. To me, I thought after the third preseason game, I was like, look, man, if no one's going to trade for Foles, then maybe you can shock the world and trade Dalton. Trade Dalton and make Big Dick Nick the backup, and go with Foles, or I'm sorry, with Fields, and maybe you can get a corner or a lineman, because you would be bumping off $10 million off of that salary cap if you could get someone to take the ginger.
Mm-hmm. So the question though is, and I'm really pissed off that I loaded the wrong clip, and I don't want to go back and do it. The question though is, is the offense better with Andy Dalton at quarterback or with Justin Fields at quarterback? That should be the question being asked of Matt Nagy. And he did sort of respond to that in this clip that I have from yesterday's press conference, yesterday being Monday morning. And we'll hear from the coach again on Wednesday morning about these cuts. But this is Nagy talking about the quarterback situation.
Coach, I know you're tired of this, and honestly, I am too. But just to be clear, the decision at quarterback, is this sticking to the plan that you guys put it together in the spring, or do you still feel that Andy Dalton gives you the best chance to win today? And are those two things the same?
Yeah, I would say the plan that we have, which was to be able to evaluate all these guys, Andy, Justin, and Nick, was for all. They're all kind of on their different deal. They're all, Andy's got a guy that he's been in here 10 years now in the NFL. Justin's a rookie, and then you got a third string guy that's been a Super Bowl MVP, right? So the Flip has to coach them a little bit differently. Going into the OTAs, we evaluated where they were. Where's Andy learning this offense? How quick can he? Where is he? He aced that right away. Justin, where are you at with learning how to call the plays? That's the start. He did a good job there. He got better when he came back in training camp. So he grew. He got better. Andy came into training camp, and from the very first day in all of our practices, he's gotten better, right? And we can, you go through and you watch the preseason and you see where we're at, and we didn't do well when he was in there at quarterback with the three. But I can go back to saying that there's a lot of variables behind that for the preseason. So that's where, when we're evaluating Andy, we know, okay, we feel really good in practice with where he's at. Justin's continuing to grow. It's everything that we've wanted in this quarterback room this entire offseason, okay? So you go back to, you say, okay, well, we said from the start that Andy's a starter. That's where we're at. And now the next part that we said is that we're going to evaluate, right, how we play as a team, as an offense, and what are the whys. And those guys all know that. So all they can do, Andy can be the best quarterback he can be, and we'll evaluate him. Justin, be the best quarterback you can be, right, in this whole entire training camp, in the preseason, and now as a number two. We're watching you every play. We're not just done watching you. We're watching. What are you doing? And now you go into the production, the wins, all that. So where are you? And that's what we got to evaluate. And we're following our plan, and we feel good about it. The quarterbacks have been great. They understand it. And that's the why for all of us.
So, Matt, compared to the original plan, has Justin's performance in the preseason, has that raised the bar for Andy and the offense as far as what has to happen to keep him?
Andy has known from the start where we want to go with this offense. He understands that. So the bar has always been high for him. It does. Andy has to control Andy. Andy can't control something that's out of his control, which is Justin. You know what I mean? So if Andy controls Andy and we have success on offense and we play well and we're winning, that's a good thing. I think we'd all understand that's a good thing while this kid develops and continues to grow and learn and watch tape. But at the same point in time, Justin needs to do everything he can from week one in the video, in the meetings, at practice, always being prepared, because you're one play away. You're one play away. And so you can't sit back and say, I'm number two. I can't, this isn't what I wanted. And he doesn't do that. But you got to be prepared, like they all do. The third string guy's got to be prepared at all times. So Andy's not affected, but he wants to just be Andy and be as best as he can be, and the same with Justin.
Wow. I've never seen a guy get so much hate in the chat room than Matt Nagy.
I start to tune him out.
Yeah, that was way too long of a soundbite from a producer standpoint.
No. That's not what I meant. I'm just saying, regardless of what he's saying, it feels like he's so monotonous that I start to I get my phone and I'm like looking up, what are we going to talk about next? Is there a lady that's messaging me?
Well, is there?
Unfortunately, at this time there isn't. But I always, I kind of just, I've heard too much of his shit at this point. He's all talk and no show,
I love Chubb's comment. He says, all he was asked was, who gives you the best chance to win? And he goes on for 3 minutes.
Soliloquy about nothing.
So good. Yeah. Well,
man, I don't know. I can't even summarize what he just said, because I confess, I feel like I'm someone that doesn't have an attention span, and I love 4-hour films usually. So, but I don't even know what he said. Give me a 10-second summary, a cliff notes of what he just said. I don't even know.
All right. Here it is. 10 seconds. Okay. What he meant to say is, we fucked up when we told Andy he was going to be the game one starter. And so we got to follow through on our word. And so don't worry about it. Our star quarterback will be playing game 2. I think that's what he said.
I don't know.
Well, I got the media. Now I was able to, I think the reason I play that Matt Nagy thing is so I can go back and fix that media soundbite that I had. So I cut out the Keyshawn Johnson part, and here are soundbites from a couple of other shows.
They play against the Rams, fam.
That's right.
And newsflash, they have Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. You don't put your rookie out there if you don't have to. Let me answer this question for you again. It's because they played the Rams week 1. Now, soon as that game ends, he gonna be taking snaps with the starters.
David Carr, meanwhile, who is a quarterback who legendarily had his career compromised by playing behind a bad offensive line during his time after being the number 1 pick in Houston, was on the Dan Patrick Show and said, do we want to put Justin Fields behind the Bears offensive line that I've watched the last 3 weeks? Absolutely not. I've been in that situation. Marcus Spears, who should be the starting quarterback for the Bears?
Justin Fields. And I said it before we even got to this point. And listen, this whole O-line thing is mind-boggling to me, because the goal when you put a team on the field is to win the damn football game and to put the best guys out there that gives you that opportunity. We all know Justin Fields gives them the best opportunity to win games.
That was Marcus Spears. He sounds like the smartest man in the bar room right now.
And that's not a cheap shot.
That is not. That was just a joke. A joke. Yeah, I can't. I think there are some good points being made there. They had that graphic that David Carr was sacked 249 times in 5 seasons. How can you survive that?
Maybe it sounds like Cutler. Maybe that's why Jay's such an anti-vaxxer now. He just got his head beaten in.
That's right. Didn't help him for pass protection. So anyway, so there are good points. Why put a young guy back there behind a bad offensive line? But at the same time, doesn't his escapability, isn't that the remedy when you have a bad offensive line as opposed to a pocket passer, and that you're going to depend on that pocket passer to get rid of the ball quickly, which means 2-yard passes, bubble screens, no explosive plays. You know, the thing with Justin Fields,
the same thing Nagy did for 4 years with Mitch.
Thank you.
Or 3 years. I'm sorry.
We all saw that sensational play by Justin Fields, that touchdown pass to Jesper Horsted. He's under pressure. He heads to the sideline, and Horsted, despite the fact that he is double teamed, Horsted is, Fields throws it on the dime, back shoulder catch, and that to me tells me, yeah, this guy can help you win even with a poor offensive line. Now, are there going to be growing pains? Of course. But guess what? Andy Dalton is going to be painful to watch at times too. So I don't want to hear that shit. I'm done.
I agree with you. It's the same thing I was saying about Denver earlier. I'm surprised that they just don't play Drew Clark and just see what you have, and see, do we need to draft somebody else in 2022? Is this our guy? Of course, the Bears aren't going to give up on our guy that quickly, but considering all the hype behind him and having to move up to get him and et cetera. However, but Denver doesn't have that. It's not exactly the same situation, but they're both playing middle of the road veterans against their young, youthful quarterback is the reason I addressed that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm trying to say is come opening night, I'm not going to sit around like after every incompletion and say, they better put Fields in. Like I want Dalton somehow to make, this decision look like the right one. I just don't think it is. But I'm hoping, you know what I mean? It's like it's almost like at the end of Mitch's run, I was hoping so much for him to earn a contract extension, to make the Bears want him.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily think that was going to happen, but I hoped it would.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the same scenario here. Like, I hope that there's a aha moment with the Bears and they're finally right on something other than Santos. Right. That's the only thing I can think of in the last few years where I was just like completely wrong. I was like, no, don't bring that guy back.
He actually hit 2 or 3 when he was with.
But no, he didn't though. That's we've had that discussion before. Like if you look at it, I don't remember what the stats were.
It wasn't field goals. It was extra points. It was extra points.
Yeah. He missed his field goal attempts.
You're right. Chubb says that if you're not playing the best player, you are a complete fucking idiot. And so I think he's referring to Matt Nagy there. So do you think that Matt Nagy goes to the players, and says secretly, hey, just your honest opinion, Cody, who do you think should be the quarterback? You think he's collecting intel from the players, gauging what the reaction is in the locker room?
Or maybe Pace wants him to start Dalton and he's just sucking up to his boss.
Well, there could be some of that, right? Because you got to go to management and say, we have a plan. We don't think that Mitchell Trubisky can play quarterback and be a number 1 starter, but we know that Andy Dalton will be available. He will come to the Bears, and we're confident that he can manage football games and we can win. We can also really work hard to target in the draft one of these 5 quarterbacks. We think we can come away with one of them, and that person can be Andy's backup. So that's what happens. That's the plan they sold to George McCaskey. And so maybe they just want to follow through on that plan. To me, it's stupid. You should adapt to new circumstances. The eye test to me tells me that Justin Fields can give you a better shot to win. And I'm not discounting
about Belichick earlier. Belichick had the wherewithal to show you like, hey, we were going to start Cam, but he's been outplayed and we've made a decision.
Yep. And I'm not discounting the fact that Andy Dalton can go into LA and help us win that game. I'm not discounting that because I think that Andy has enough experience to do certain things right that could help the team. It's going to obviously depend on the defense limiting the Rams offense to 2 scores tops. And it's also going to depend on the offensive line helping to get that run game going and some big plays on special team. That's how you're going to win in LA week 1. And with Andy Dalton as quarterback. If Justin Fields was quarterback, I would say there's going to be some electrifying plays from Justin Fields that he's going to keep this team in the game and potentially win it all on his own. May not even need a defense to play tremendous football.
The last couple of years when we've gone to LA, now, of course, the game in Chicago that you were at, the Bears pounded the Rams that night. But the games at the Coliseum and whatever the fucking new field's called, that's the home of the Super Bowl this year. Wouldn't it be great for the Bears to open the season in week 1 in LA and then go back and win the Super Bowl there? But okay. My point was going to be that when we've played the Rams the last few years, the defense, for some reason, is just absolutely seems bewildered every time the Rams do these like misdirection, like like flips, their little tosses to their little gimmicky wide receiver screens and toss plays and all this shit that seems like something Nagy would have run in 2018. Just real gimmicky wide receiver end arounds and pitches and tosses and misdirection. Whenever they would run that, the Bears were just completely like confounded, like had no answer for the misdirection.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that for some reason they've watched tape the last couple of years on what the fuck the Rams have been doing.
I hope so too. Interesting comment here from Stephen Me, our guy across the pond. He says in 1983, Dan Marino wasn't named starter for the Dolphins until week 6. So I'm looking at the stats here. What
Is that true? I didn't know that. Well, maybe they started David Woodley because he did lead them to the Super Bowl the year before that. So maybe Woodley was the starter. I didn't know that though.
Yeah, and Marino was what, the 20th pick of the first round? I think he was.
It was late in the first round. He fell for whatever reason.
Well, here are his stats for that season, and indeed he wasn't named starter until later into the season. 20 touchdown passes, 6 interceptions. Not too fucking bad.
And they were upset at home by Seattle in the wild card game. And Seattle then would go and beat Elway and the Broncos, although same thing, that the Broncos that year had a rookie in John Elway, but they started Steve DeBerg.
Is your short-term memory as good as your long-term memory?
I don't know.
That's amazing that you remember that.
Well, I didn't know that Marino didn't start till week 6 though. So, but yeah, I knew that Elway had to split time all year with the Berg, and like Seattle, they went to Miami, beat the Dolphins, and it was like back-to-back kickoff return fumbles from West Virginia's own Fulton Walker that cost him that game, although he had a kick return of the Super Bowl the year before. And then, so the Denver playoff game, like the Berg is getting blown out, and they put Elway in, but it's real late. And then finally that team went to another West Virginia guy who was on that team, their running back, Kurt Warner, not to be confused with Kurt Warner, the quarterback, but like Kurt Warner, the running back, actually grew up about a half hour from me. And they lost the AFC Championship game to the Raiders at the LA Coliseum. So they had a guy who, of course, would be with the Bears much later was their quarterback, David Craig.
Mm-hmm. You know, Chubbs is on a roll here. He's posting stuff that I agree with left and right. I might end up voting for a Republican in the midterms. Chubbs says in 1983, the NFL wasn't running college offenses. And so that is a great point, and one that I've touched on in previous shows, is that it's easier for these college quarterbacks to come into the NFL and start season 1 because the NFL has adapted their offenses to include a lot of the college schemes. I mean, and that's the right way to do it. If you can't, because the collective bargaining has prevented you from doing certain things that you used to do in the offseason, well, what's the best way to get these guys playing to their best as soon as possible? Start using some of the systems and plays and schemes that they played in college. And we've seen a lot of that.
To Chubbs' point, a guy that would be with the Bears later, Cordell Stewart, and his rookie year with Pittsburgh when they go to the Super Bowl, it just one of the gimmicks that they used, which is such a staple in college football, and like the pros didn't know what to do about it, was that little that fucking play called the where you can run and you can keep it, or you can flip it to the running back.
The run option.
Yeah. It's like when Cordell did that all the time in the option, and they had no, like the defense is like, oh, we've never seen this before. But it was the first time that I can really think in my head that a college play was used so often, and the pros and the pro defense had no answer for it that year. And then, of course, he played wide receiver too, and that's when they called him Slash. But
oh yes,
yeah, that option play like confounded everybody that year for some reason.
Yep.
And if you remember in 2012, it was Kaepernick and Russell Wilson with the run option at quarterback that was confusing everybody.
Indeed. All right, let me get back to that list of notables who were cut. So besides Cam Newton, there were a number of quarterbacks cut today, including Trevor Siemian, who I thought the Bears should have taken a chance on when he came out of Northwestern, just to add a new face. And he's had some good games as a pro. but and I bet he'll be signed by somebody. Garrett Gilbert and Ben DiNuccio, the two quarterbacks from the Cowboys, Nick Mullins. Those were the prominent names at quarterbacks, besides, of course, Cam Newton, that were dropped. And then at the offensive line position, did you know there was an offensive lineman, and a pretty decent one, named Michael Jordan?
I did not. Who did he play for?
I didn't know that either. I did the research. He played for the Bengals. They dropped him. They brought in some rookie who has been playing tremendously, and so they probably dropped him because of salary demands. So he's gone. And then Prince Tega Wanohu, who was a guy who was talked about a lot 2 years ago when he came into the NFL on our draft shows. I saw his name in a lot of our mock drafts and so forth. He was dropped by the Chiefs. So it's going to be interesting, given Matt Nagy's relationship with Kansas City, if he might come in for a tryout. Want to know another Chiefs lineman who was dropped? A guy who played for the Chicago Bears. Do you remember the name Brian Witzman?
He was really bad, though.
He was. That's why it's hard to forget, right?
Yeah, he was really bad that year. Was it 18 when he had to play?
Yes, that was exactly right. I think he started against the Rams on that Monday night game, and he was just being manhandled. So yeah, Brian.
So did Kyle Long make the Chiefs?
He's on the physically unable to perform list.
He's hurt again, huh?
Yeah, well, he got hurt I think 2-3 weeks ago, and so he's been on the PUP list since then, I believe. So a couple of other notables. You know, remember the guy Steven Denmark, who was drafted by the Bears 2 years ago in the 7th round? He was this incredible athlete. Well, he was picked up by the Packers after the Bears dropped him, and the Packers have dropped him, and they also dropped the wide receiver from Notre Dame, Equanimeous St. Brown, who I had high hopes on. But a couple of other wide receivers that we should take note of. John Brown, the speedster, was dropped by the Raiders. He actually asked for his release, and the Raiders complied. So I know how much the Bears prize speedy wide receivers. He might come in to Chicago. I wouldn't put that past him. And then Brashard Perriman from the Lions, which is so weird because the Lions right now, they're 4 wide receivers, the guys you've never heard of. Nobody's heard of. Don Bird, where are you? I mean, it is embarrassing what the Lions have for Jared Goff at the wide receiver position. Now, I'm not saying some of these guys, in fact, St. Brown's.
Yeah, don't say that, because by the time I come out there in week 4 and these no-name wide receivers, I'll be like, they had scrubs, did they, Aldo? Well, they caught 5 touchdowns today.
True.
Yeah, don't jinx that on me.
True. Now, the guy who was the number 2 receiver on their depth chart is St. Brown's brother, Equanimeous' brother. So he's actually, Danny Sherman likes him a lot and thinks he's going to have a good pro career, but they don't have a veteran on that wide receiver core, and that hopefully will be a big problem for that team.
Where is Golden Tate now? He always catches a touchdown against the Bears. Like, which game is he going to burn us this season?
That's right. Clinton Dix is also available. You think the Bears should bring them back if there's a need at the safety position?
I mean, I don't even know who do we have as our backups? Deion Bush and God damn it, the special teams ace that we have with the hyphen name.
Houston Carson.
He's a solid backup though. Yeah. I like Houston Carson a lot. But I don't know. I mean, maybe is 4 enough at safety?
Yeah, Xavier Crawford. I don't think Xavier Crawford is going to be around much. I think he's one of those guys that they probably are looking for defensive backs on waivers, and so he might be replaced. We'll see.
If Clinton Dix is wanting to be a backup, but then again, the backup safety is probably going to have to play special teams.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Crawford is a cornerback, but the 4 safeties right now are Deion Bush, DeAndre Houston Carson, Tashawn Gibson, and Eddie Jackson. So I think we're good there unless an injury happens to one of those guys. Who was it that got injured in that last preseason game?
It was Bush, right? Deion Bush got hurt.
Yeah, right. So hopefully
I was watching the Titans coverage, and it was just dreadful. Now, maybe I'm saying that because I'm a Bears fan, but whenever like someone was hurt or whenever there was a play, like a flag down, I would only know that the flag was down because I was following along on Twitter. They would cut to the booth and talk to their broadcast team, talking about the Titans' upcoming season, not even caring about the game that was going on.
Yes.
They weren't even talking about the fucking flags or anything.
Yes. It bugs me when broadcasters do that during preseason games. They have no clue that on the field there are 22 great stories going on about guys fighting to make the team, and they should be highlighting. Man, I want to do a show just totally dedicated to my pet peeves and your pet peeves about what's going on with broadcasting in the NFL. Like on Twitter, I put down, there was a catch in one of the games where somebody caught a ball, got possession of it, and then we needed to determine if he got both feet in bound. Well, both feet in bound. So what happens? Of course, the multiple replays don't freeze the shot when the guy has possession. They just keep running in a slow motion all the way through. I mean, and then they don't have an all 22 camera so that we can see, oh, that guy was way open over there, or they had a deep safety over there, so there's no way they would. There's so many goddamn things that broadcasters now do that just piss me fucking off, man.
At least Al Riveron has retired.
That's right. Who's taking his place? Do you know?
I don't know, but this guy still says that Zach Miller's touchdown in New Orleans, the reversal was the right call. So he should have been fired after that game. The goddamn guy almost lost his leg and his life for catching a touchdown, which 99 out of 100 people would have said it was a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Saints would have said that was a touchdown.
Yep.
And he still justified taking that away from Zach Miller, which is obscene.
Yep.
He should have been fired after that season.
People in the chat room are talking about the players who were cut by the Bears. Charles Snowden's name came up, and I think that this guy is going to definitely be on the practice squad. The one good thing about when you put some of these young guys on the practice, when you cut them, they are very likely to make it through waivers. Why? Because a lot of teams just fall in love with the players that they drafted, and
COVID too.
Plus COVID, exactly. These guys know the system, they know the team culture, and so they are going to make it through waivers because no other team wants to train somebody from the get-go. So a lot of these guys are going to be available for the Bears to make their practice squad. So let's not worry about losing Charles Snowden. I bet you that tomorrow he'll be signed to the practice squad.
You know, it's a really good story, not to go change topics, but just popped in my head. When you were talking about the preseason, they should be highlighting the guys fighting for jobs. And one of the guys, you hit it on, I think, last week's show, that he only had 2 hours of sleep and he came to the game. He still played, the Rodney Adams.
Yes.
Yeah, and making the team. I mean, and he showed off a little bit. He had some good catches in the preseason. So I'm glad for him, for a human story.
Yes.
That he made the roster.
Yes. And there are other great human stories like that, human interest stories that these broadcasters should be telling us about, not just about the guy who had a baby the night before he made the team, essentially, because that was, I think, the game that had the Bears coaches thinking, maybe we can finally get rid of Javon Wims.
Oh, thank God. He had replaced Josh Bellamy as like one of my most hated Bears ever. I think Josh Bellamy may be my most hated Bear ever.
Okay, I gotta tell our followers this about the hate text that you were sending me.
Oh, yeah. I was just talking. Yeah, I'll say it on the air. I was saying that I hope that Kansas City, with this current roster, doesn't even go back to a playoff game. It bothers me when someone like Mahomes is put on a fucking pedestal. Like, he did not deserve Super Bowl MVP. And I'm not saying because Damian Williams is with the Bears. Like, his stats in that game weren't very good. But because who he is, he won MVP. The same thing with Peyton Manning in our Super Bowl that we lost in 41. There's no way you tell me Peyton Manning's the reason we lost. The Bears couldn't stop Dominic Rhodes or Joseph Adai, both of which was running the ball and catching passes. Peyton was dinking and dunking all night, got MVP. Ray Lewis got MVP in 35 for 6 tackles, no turnovers, no sacks, no picks. Chris McAllister had like 2 interceptions and a pick 6. Doesn't get MVP just because he's not the it boy. And that's who Patrick Mahomes is. And I hate the guys like that. I hated Peyton Manning. I hate Tom Brady. I hate Brett Favre. I hate Aaron Rodgers. And yes, I hate Patrick Mahomes. So yeah, I hope that he doesn't win another playoff game ever, because I've been told, like last year, if you were listening to the Super Bowl commentary, they were saying like, oh, Brady is going for his 149th Super Bowl win. And Mahomes is going to get there. I'm like, how do you know Mahomes is going to get there? He's won 1. Even Aaron Rodgers has only won 1. And okay, another point. What started all this, I was watching that goddamn countdown on the NFL Network for their top 100. And I hate Aaron Rodgers. I hate the Packers. There's no way Rodgers shouldn't have been number 1 this year based upon his year last year. There's no way. Rodgers' season last year was fucking phenomenal. Like 45, 46 touchdowns, 5 picks, whatever. Like, we can only dream about quarterback play like that here. That guy deserved to be number 1, and they gave it to Mahomes just because he's their it boy. And I resent that.
So here's my reply back to Dan. And I'm trying to find the text, but for some reason it doesn't allow me to go that back.
You told me that I sounded like a Trump person.
Jeez, I wasn't going to bring that up.
You said you sound like a goddamn, how'd you say it? It was funny as fuck when you said it.
I think I said MAGA. I think you sound like a MAGA supporter or something.
Yeah, that's what it was. I laughed out loud for real when I read it.
So here's the thing. You hate these guys simply because they were named MVP. That's no fault of their own. They just played a football game, and you should be hating the people who voted for them to get the MVP. And so I told you, man, hate's a little strong for something that they had no control over.
Maybe hate. It's just I don't have hate like I want to start a concentration camp. But I don't want him to. I don't want if you told me Mahomes never win a playoff game again, I'd be okay with that.
Well, I happen to like the guy a lot because I saw his college tape, and when we were doing 100 Proof, I was really advocating for the guy. So I feel a certain sense of pride that the guy that I was rooting for and thought that he should be picked by the Bears of any of those quarterbacks that were available, Trubisky, who I thought was a 2nd-round talent, Deshaun Kaiser, who I thought was a 2nd-round talent, in fact, went in the 2nd round, and Deshaun Watson, who is every bit as good as arguably as Mahomes, but of course
he's just got to keep his asshole and his dick to himself.
That's right. He needs to stop asking masseuse to have his prostate examined. I still can't get over it.
Is he going to be suspended at some point?
I think that the NFL is still reviewing things. I do believe that there has to be a suspension coming.
Maybe Cam goes to Houston then.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, did you hear stuff about the reason Cam was dropped was because he hasn't been vaccinated and it's just too risky to carry a quarterback who isn't taking the vaccination?
I didn't know that part of it at all.
Yeah, that apparently some reports coming out of the East Coast is that why that's one of the determining reasons why Belichick wanted to cut Cam Newton. There was just a concern that, with the strict rules that they have, that if a game could be forfeited, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, you could get a loss because of that.
Right. And the quarterback room, there's only 2 or 3 guys in there. And if one of the guys is unvaccinated and he somehow gets the other guy vaccinated, even though he might be, gets him, he passes the COVID on, even though Mac is vaccinated, there still could be some complications as a result of that, and he might have to miss a day or 2. And so it was just too risky, according to some reports. And so that's why Cam Newton was on the chopping block.
I mean, it's a valid concern. Even I know the right wingers don't want to hear that because for some reason they're anti-vaccine, which God, I don't want to talk politics, but I just like you were mentioning, you could get a loss this year. Last year, like they were trying to reschedule games and all this placating the teams, and like you could just get a fucking L this year because of your team suddenly has COVID. And if you got a guy that doesn't want to get the vaccine, I can understand them trying to make a move. That's not politics. That's just like trying not to lose a game.
Right. Chubb says there's a bunch of quarterbacks who haven't taken the vaccination. I agree with you, Chubbs. There are, but apparently, and PJ is saying, that if that's the reason Cam was cut, that it's unfair. And it is what it is, though. I mean, and that hasn't been confirmed by the Patriots, and I doubt that they will say that. But some reporters have actual inside sources, and maybe that's the case with that. So I don't know. Kind of a weird situation with Cam Newton. Let me go back to our little list here of notables who have been cut just to see if there's one other name that I wanted to mention. Oh, Everson Griffin, the defensive lineman of the Vikings, who has had some really super years with the Vikings. He is like Eddie Goldman. Bears probably don't need him, but man, if he could be had for a dime and a nickel, I'd love to see him on the roster. But we shall see what happens. I wanted to also play some audio from Matt Nagy's press conference regarding Tariq Cohen. You were, Dan, the first, in fact, to let me know that Tariq Cohen was put on the PUP list. And so prior to that announcement, Nagy was asked about Tariq. Listen to this.
Is there more to work back from than just an ACL?
No, it's for him, it's every single day he's coming in and working, like I just said. And the time-wise, when you all asked me a month ago about the time, it's hard to say. I mean, he's at a point right now where he's getting better every day. He's not where he needs to be right now, but he is improving. And the only thing that we can do is just keep grinding with that rehab. That's all he can do. He's unbelievable in the meetings. I mean, he's the same as he's always been. Physically, we just got to keep taking it day by day, and I'm just not going to put a timeline on him.
Did he have a second surgery after the initial ACL?
Did he have a second surgery?
Did they go back in or anything? Is that timeline?
No, I don't think it changes the timeline. I think for him, I got to go back and find out about all the little scopes or surgeries that these guys have. But for him, I just think he got to a point where it was a little bit of like the scar tissue and just the healing and everything like that. So it's where he's at right now. And all I can appreciate from him is working every single day, and he's done that.
He's lying. He knows that Tariq had another scope. That's bullshit. How can he fucking not know? I got to go back and ask Ryan if I can divulge that. That's what that was all about.
I agree with you 100%. So Tariq was hurt in what was it, week 3 last season?
I believe so, yes.
So we're looking at roughly, when he's eligible to come off the PUP list, a full year's time calendar. And considering how nasty that injury was, and they didn't even draw a flag, which is just, again, absurd, incendiarily, egregiously awful that didn't even draw a penalty. But that would feel like that's probably about the right time, about a year to come back from something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And just to get him back on the field. But in previous guys, it would seem like he probably won't be himself until 22, though, with full explosiveness. I mean,
right. I'm wondering if Mule Skinner isn't correct that Cohen isn't finished. I just feel like, first of all, re-signing him, I thought was a mistake. I said so publicly.
I'm glad for him personally that he got paid before he got hurt, because he'd have never gotten paid.
Absolutely. Get as much money as you can. Absolutely. I'm all for that. These guys risk their lives out there. But I thought from a business standpoint that Ryan Pace made a mistake, because Tariq had a sensational, or maybe that's hyperbole, a really good rookie season. There's no doubt about it. The guy really helped out the Bears get to the playoffs. No doubt about it. The next season, no.
That's because Nagy doesn't know how to use him. His rookie year was with Fox.
Yeah.
Nagy doesn't know how to use him. He would bring Cohen in and have him running in the fucking 1 and 2 hole, like between, I mean, this isn't the between the tackle insides John Riggins. This isn't a big bowling ball. He's not Jordan Howard. You know, like you should have him more outside and sweeps and maybe even in the slot. But Nagy always misuses our talent, which is what I've been bitching about the whole time he's been here.
Well, I guess then I was wrong because his first 2 seasons were good. His first season in 2018 under Matt Nagy's, which was his first season, that's the season where he had 5 touchdowns. His rookie season, he had 1 touchdown, did well on special teams. It was in 2018 where he had 100 rushes, rushed for 450 yards, 4.5 average, 3 touchdowns, a total of 5 touchdowns with the 71 receptions that he had. So Matt Nagy, I thought, used him pretty well, but I thought that in subsequent years, he wasn't the same kind of explosive player. And I've always been concerned about his size, that the punishment that he was getting by guys who are almost quite literally twice the size that he has, that his playing career was going to be shortened because of that. You know, I've seen it. The Darren Sproles are so rare. And in fact, I posted a picture of Darren Sproles when he came out of college and Tariq Cohen when he came out of college. And the difference is like those old ads where the muscle man is kicking sand on the skinny guy at the beach who's there with the girlfriend. And unfortunately, Cohen looked like the skinny guy. He just doesn't have the muscle mass like a Darren Sproles. And so I don't think he can play in the NFL for long periods of time. So,
or just to play devil's advocate, the Browns had a guy in the late 80s. There was a gimmick return man, didn't do as well at running back, but eventually was moved to wide receiver and was balling when he was with the Falcons. Although he played well with Cleveland too, I'm just saying, but he was more like Cohen early on and was shifted to wide receiver, and that's Eric Metcalf.
Mm-hmm.
And Metcalf was moved to wide receiver and had a second life in the league. So you can't tell me that Cohen couldn't get in the slot and just abuse motherfuckers, you know, with all the speed he's got. Well, assuming he has it still.
Mm-hmm. I think that I will not be surprised if we see Tariq Cohen ever play again in the NFL. And somebody in the chat room, I was trying to find it, has said, you know, that watch, Tariq is going to have another surgery coming up. And I would not at all be surprised because this just falls under the narrative of the Chicago Bears. They're not honest about player injuries. Tevin Jenkins was making all sorts of progress. Yeah, you know,
right.
It's close. And now he's having fucking back surgery.
Kevin White.
Right. Kevin White, same storyline. And now it just smells like the Tariq storyline is one that.
But to be fair, Cohen, they were saying in May and June was still a long ways away, that his rehab was going slowly. So at least that was confirmed at that time. Because like you said, in most instances, they just blow sunshine up our ass and say, oh, well, he's doing well and he's day to day. And they know that he's fucking month to month. You know?
That's right. They should have a designation now where it goes from day to day to month, because that's much more accurate than this fucking day to day shit. Oh man. So we've talked about the 53. We've looked at the cuts, the notables. I think we're done talking about this roster.
Well, I got one more for you that I was talking with the guys in the text group today. I can't remember because I had just woken up who was making the points. I don't know if it was them or Aaron, but I was saying that to me, the obvious for JP Holtz is he's going to be our fullback in a set when a fullback is required with Null being released. I mean, and probably on the practice squad. But JP Holtz has done well whenever he's come in to be a blocking back. So I assume he's the quote unquote H back.
Yes.
And we saw Horsted with just tremendous hands against the Titans. And he caught a touchdown last year too. But that catch, the third one he had Saturday night, was just amazing. It's like John Mackey in the Super Bowl, but against Dallas. But and you know, Jesse James is receiving tight end, and so is Graham, and so is Kmet, at least we hope. So we have 4 catching tight ends, and we've got one guy that can block and play fullback. So that's why he's on the roster.
Yeah.
But I like that all these guys made it, though. I like the tight end, the quote unquote tight end room.
Right. I agree with you. It's 5 tight ends. It's a little more than you'd like to see, but I like all 5 of these guys. There's been a lot of people on social media critical of Jimmy Graham and that signing. You know what? I would have preferred, Chubbs, don't kick me in the balls, but I would have preferred they kept Charles Leno because it was basically comparable. The money they were making is comparable, they being Graham and Leno. But be that as it may, Graham is there. I think he's going to catch another 6, 7, 8 touchdowns this year. I agree with you about J.P. Holtz. He's an excellent U-back and special teams guy. Jesper Horsted is guy played wide receiver at Princeton, and he is starting to get tight end chops where he can block and he can play well. So Jesper Horsted could be a big surprise in the NFL. It could be him and Cole Kmet as the future starting tight ends. Jesse James, we know what he can do. If Don Burr was here, the Detroit fan that always likes to troll on our thing, I'm sure would give a thumbs up for Jesse James. And I really do believe that Cole Kmet is going to have an excellent year. So that tight end room is very, very strong in my mind. Good point, man. You know what?
I like it too. And I think Jesse James, going back to when he was in Pittsburgh, he had really good hands. So I think that he's a guy that is sneaky good if he's active. He can get in there and make some noise.
People are attacking me about Charles Leno again. I like the guy. I don't know.
You should be Leno's agent.
You know what? I feel bad for people who are picked on, and I don't want anybody to be critical of Charles Leno except me. Don't you feel that way sometimes? You know, it's all right for me to criticize Khalil Mack, but if somebody else criticizes Khalil Mack, then I'm pissed off. Don't you feel that way?
No, I don't get pissed off when they come after Mack, because his contract, to me, it deserves some scrutiny, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if there's I get the Leno thing, like he's our guy, so why don't we fucking embrace him? You know, I felt that way with Cutler for sure, but also he had a big contract too, so I don't want to sound like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth, but I felt like I was constantly having to defend Cutler from, you know, people saying he quit in the title game and all that bullshit, which is just dumb, you know?
And Dan, regarding Charles Leno, because again, lots of stuff in the chat about Leno, but don't you value the fact that he played every fucking game and he was at least giving you snaps? Now people are saying, well, you know, you can get somebody else to give you snaps. Really? Where's Tevin Jenkins right now?
Your point is absolutely valid, because he had over 90 straight starts, right?
Yeah.
So, and for a 7th round pick, there's no way that you can't say that wasn't a great draft pick.
Neil Skinner is with me. He must be a pot smoker just like me. All right. I want to go back to that 53 because I pulled it up while we were talking about the tight ends, and there's another couple of position areas we should probably talk about. I am very hopeful that this outside linebacker group, these 4 guys, are going to be ballers. Jeremiah Atoshu, Trevis Gibson, the second-year man who had an outstanding preseason.
He looked great Saturday night.
Oh, my goodness. And then Khalil Mack and hopefully Robert Quinn. So I like this outside linebackers group. You're not as high on them because you still want Khalil Mack to go back and perform at the 2018 level, right?
I do. I want Mack to. I wrote before I answer that. Did you? I think I sent it to you. There was a report that the Raiders tried to trade back for him.
That's right. Not Detroit. That the Raiders, right?
Yeah, the Raiders wanted Khalil Mack, and the Bears told him to go fuck themselves. So
right. I didn't.
Maybe there is a plan in place to keep him beyond this year. Then
I didn't read the article. I saw the headline that you sent me from The Athletic. So what was there anything else of note in that article? Like, you know, what transpired, where people talked about first round picks or anything like that?
I only could see the headline stuff because I don't subscribe to The Athletic.
Okay.
But it basically said that the Raiders feel like that they're close to winning and they could afford to pay him now. So they called the Bears and they said the Bears absolutely didn't entertain it. They weren't interested at all.
Okay. Let me get back to that list. Where'd it go? Here it is.
You're talking Mack, Quinn, Gibson, and well, how do you say his name? Jeremiah's last name.
Toe shoe is how I've been told to pronounce it.
A toe shoe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very close to our old buddy, Draft Dr. Phil.
Toshin. I thought that too.
All right. Now, inside linebackers, they got more inside linebackers than we have troops in Afghanistan.
Wow.
And they've got 7 inside linebackers. Joel Iyiegbuniwe, Caleb Johnson, Kristen Jones, Alec Ogletree, Roquan, Danny T, and Josh Woods. Gotta believe that at least 2 of these guys aren't going to be on the team tomorrow at this time.
And DeFalco says, "Who's Josh Woods again?" I figured the undrafted free agent, the Caleb Johnson, probably is going to be a casualty.
Yeah.
To me, Ogletree played well enough to earn a spot. I hope he sticks. And to me, the guy that I was the least impressed with in the preseason, former Bear, former Lion, current Bear again, is Christian Cheese Jones.
Yeah.
I thought he played pretty badly when whenever the few times that I focused on him.
Yeah, the last preseason game, I thought he was, despite the fact that I think he got 11 tackles, they weren't quality tackles. There were tackles like, getting a guy from behind after he's already gained several yards. So Christian Jones, to me, it looks like he's a candidate for the cut list tomorrow.
If it comes down to, I would think, I'm predicting, I don't know for sure, I would say Ogletree's safe. So let's say one of them did go. Would it be Josh Woods or Christian Jones? I would have to say Christian Jones is the odd man out.
I agree with that. Totally agree. At the defensive lineman position, I like the play of Angelo Blackson and Eddie Goldman. Those 2 guys in the middle, I think, could give the Chicago Bears one of the best interior defensive lines in football. These guys are road graders, and they're going to help Akeem Hicks and Bilal Nichols to do really good stuff. And Kyrus Tonga made the team, a guy that
I predicted that. I told you, the big man. I like him.
You did. I mean, between Blackson, Goldman, Tonga, and then Hicks is a road grader too. He can move anybody from anywhere, and Bilal Nichols is probably going to be that guy too. We got a defensive line position that is rich in strength and versatility.
How about
like
Eddie
that.
Goldman getting a tackle on his first snap?
How about that? He looks like he is ready to rock and roll.
I don't know much about Angelo Blackcock, though. I didn't pay attention to him. Obviously, I love Hicks. I love Nichols. I love the kid Tonga. I love Goldman. I didn't really focus on Angelo too much.
Blackcock, do you want to start talking about your sex life again? You want to change to that now?
I've never taken a Blackcock, sir.
All right, so inside linebackers, outside cornerbacks, we talked about. Safeties, we talked about. All right, offensive linemen, I think we've already shared our anxiety about that. The tight ends we've talked about. All right, let's talk about the receivers. We got Rodney Adams. I think everybody's excited about what this guy displayed in the preseason, so that's good. Darnell Mooney and Allen Robinson. So you got 3 receivers there.
And Goodwin's blazing speed, man.
Yeah.
I told you many times in San Francisco, he did well with Jimmy Garoppolo.
I hear you, but I just haven't seen Goodwin nor Burr do much in preseason. So I'm hopeful that those guys are going to live up to their promise. But it's not like I could say, yeah, did you see that great catch Saturday? No, no, I didn't. Not from those guys.
Well, he's kind of like Trufant. He really didn't play that much in the preseason. That's why I was asking you. Remember, I was like, where is Trufant?
Right.
He hasn't played at all. And you're like, well, he's someone had died in his family or something.
Right.
And who knew that, like, I felt like, did he play any of the 3 games? I don't think he did.
I don't think so either.
Then they just caught him.
Right.
Like, wow.
And it was telling that at that press conference yesterday, Matt Nagy was asked about Desmond Trufant, and do you have confidence that you can keep him on the roster given that he hasn't played in 2.5 weeks? And Nagy didn't say yes. He says, yeah, well, that's one of the, and then he trailed off into something else. But those first few words I thought were indicative of, yeah, he's on the roster bubble. Wouldn't it be great if they just said that? Yeah, he's on a roster bubble. Next question. Just get to the point. Tell the truth.
Yeah, tell them. I mean, you'd have to word it a little bit more sensitively, but yes, you'd say, yeah, of course it's a concern.
Right. I mean, it's so fucking obvious that it is.
You think if they'd asked Mike Ditka that, he wouldn't have said that about Lemuel Stenson?
That's one of the things I loved about Mike Ditka. What do you care?
Yeah, he'd been like, hell yes. You got eyes?
Right.
You got eyes? Don't you watch the game? Of course I'm worried about it.
Oh, yeah. How many Mike Ditka quotes can you come up with like that?
Fuck, I don't know. I mean, I didn't get to take Ditka in the way you did being in Chicago because there's no internet at the time, and so I was just completely reliant on what ESPN was going to show me that night. So I couldn't listen on the radio because, like I said, there's no internet radio or you couldn't pay for a game pass or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have a Chicago channel to watch either.
Yeah. Man, I can't believe that any of us lived through a time where there was no internet. I'm so dependent on it. I am on it every fucking day. Jay points out that I did not have Mario Edwards Jr. on my 53, and I am going to go back and take a look at that and have to
Well, he's
agree.
suspended the first 2 or 3 games.
That's why. Thank you,
Yeah.
Dan. That is why. Jay, yeah, he's not playing for the first 2 games, and he has had an excellent preseason. So there's no way the Bears are going to go into the season without him, in my mind. But you never know. You never know. Let's see. So back to
What
that.
about the running backs?
Yeah,
real
we're just
quick?
going to cover that. Go ahead.
Well, you got Montgomery, of course, and you've got Damian Williams, and you have to think that the kid they drafted, Herbert, is going to be the kick returner.
That is
I'm
right.
guessing.
Yes.
So I guess Pierce would be activated if one of the other 2 guys gets hurt.
Right.
Wouldn't that be the plan? And then obviously, like I said, for fullback, you could slide Holtz in there as another back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with you that those 3 running backs, it does kind of bother me that they don't have like a Ryan Null in that backfield to get you those tough yards. And I know that David Montgomery can do that, but you don't want him doing that often. Not that Matt Nagy runs the ball at all, but he's more likely to throw on 3rd and an inch than he is run. But I like having that
shotgun on 3rd and inch.
Yeah, I like having that Leonard.
Inches, we're in the shotgun.
Right.
From the half-yard line. 3rd and goal from the half-yard line. We're in the shotgun.
That's right. I like having that Leonard Fournette. By the way, is Leonard Fournette in the league?
Yeah, I saw him the other night because they were cutting to because again, I was watching the Titan preseason game on NFL Network, and they were cutting to other games. They were cutting to Tampa a lot just because of Brady was playing. But I saw Fournette in uniform that night. So.
Ravi says that Saints Ditka was funny.
Saints Ditka, man, had some balls still to trade his whole draft for Ricky Williams.
Whoa. Well, what an idiot.
Well, yeah, I don't think you can say that, though, because Ricky Williams had all the potential. I don't know if Ditka knew that he had all the social anxieties and was going to have to go to India and smoke weed and all that shit constantly to find himself.
I just don't see trading your entire draft for one player. I don't see that.
But he thought Ricky Williams was his Peyton,
Yeah. And he didn't realize that the game was changing. The factor asks, other than Jim McMahon, is there another reason Aldo became a Bears fan? I think that's the reason for Dan. The question for Dan.
For me. Yeah, that's for me.
Yeah. What is that? What's your response to that?
Jim McMahon was it. I mean, like I said, that's now. And my mom did tell me a story, and I've said this on air too, but I can't confirm this because I was like 2. But I've told you that he didn't view it as a passion like I did. But when my dad had just gotten home from Vietnam, the Vikings were in the Super Bowl, so he had gone a few years without being able to watch football, So my dad gravitated to Fran for some reason, who I think is, when I go back and watch those games, I'm like, fuck, he's the reason they're losing these Super Bowls. It's Starkinen. But for some reason, my dad liked Fran, and watching Fran pisses me off when I'm like, if you just have somebody to play average against Pittsburgh, they beat them in Super Bowl 9. He played awful.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he was a Minnesota fan. but again, would have never even thought of it so much as like, how could you like the Bears? Like he wasn't that passionately involved, and he liked Minnesota because of Fran. But anyway, so he casually would watch when they would be on. And my mom said that my dad was watching a Vikings Bears game in like '82, and I was pointing at the logo saying that I like that as a baby. At the Bears logo.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, like if she were still alive, she could tell you that because she always told that story. She said even when he was a baby, he liked the Bears logo. But for me, it was Jim McMahon and just being pop culture and just being everywhere. Just as a kid of the 80s, like 4, 5, 6, 7 years old during that time, I thought Jim was just fucking cool, you know? He was like just the coolest fucking guy that there was, like image-wise.
He was, you know, and I just thought that he became annoyingly just annoying as his career went on, and I'm a little bit with Dan Hampton. If Jay Cutler was the quarterback of those teams, the Bears would have had at least 2 Super Bowls and maybe as many as 4 if Jay Cutler was the QB instead of Jim McMahon. What do you think about that?
I mean, I heard Dan Hampton say that, and I like his post game on WGN. I do. So obviously, I viewed Dan Hampton as a Hall of Famer, and I respect his opinion. But for whatever reason, he was against Jay or against Jim the whole time. So it just seems like he has malice against McMahon, like to a ridiculous degree. So I don't know if his opinion is a little bit biased there. It's another way to jab Jim, I think, more than it being like a legitimate like thought. But again, for the people that say, well, McMahon won the Super Bowl because of that defense. I mean, what did they do without McMahon? They didn't win. They didn't win with Doug Flutie. They didn't win with Mike Tomczak. They didn't win with Steve Fuller. You know, it was Jim McMahon that had to be in there for us to win.
Because Jim was also the offensive coordinator when he was in. He would change plays. He knew, you know, he could get away with that. And Flutie, of course.
Again, the story on that is it's so worth re-mention or just re-acknowledging. His first game that he started was against the Lions at Soldier Field in '82. And they would tell the story that, like, you know, it's like Walter left, Walter right, Walter up the middle. It's 3rd and 8. Let's give it to Walter. And the play was supposed to be going to Walter, and Jim's a scared rookie in there in his first game. And instead he gave it to Suey instead. And Matt got 6. And then the next time he was supposed to hand to Walter, he threw it to Suey and they got another first down. And he said, Walter pulled him aside and said, keep what you do. I like what you're doing. You know, you stick with that, you know, and obviously Walter wants to run the ball.
Yeah.
But he immediately saw him as being as a guy that understood what was happening. And, you know, hey, it's 3rd and 8. We're going to hand it to Walter. Well, why do we do that if the whole fucking team's waiting on that?
Right.
So, I mean, McMahon, even in his first game, is realizing, well, why do we have to do that if they're waiting on it? Let's try to get a first down. Let's do something differently. So even from his first game, and Walter was the one who pointed him out and said, hey, what you're doing is, I like it.
That is absolutely true. I remember reading news stories from the Chicago papers about McMahon calling those audibles and making those changes, and Walter approving of his style of play, and that was necessary because Ditka was so hard-headed. He was just running the same offense, and I remember Walter Payton at one point saying, "Yeah." You know, because he had like a 30+ carries in one game, and they asked him, you know, reporter asked him, how much longer can you take that? He goes, not very long.
Not long.
Right. Poor guy.
Because his head was ringing, you said.
Yeah. Shit. Man, that's just scary. A lot of people in the chat room, based on what you said, are recalling why they became a Bears fan. PJ says that he became a Bears fan because of Butkus and Sayers. And PJ, you and I are a lot alike because I got the Butkus jersey behind me. I have a Sayers jersey somewhere upstairs. That one, unfortunately, is not autographed, but that's why I started following the Bears. 4,000 Clover says, first Bears game I ever saw was Super Bowl 20. I remember my dad told me, son, I have never seen a defense like this in my life. Meanwhile, I was like, what's a defense? Chubb says that he was born in Decatur, so being a Bears fan is in his blood. Mule says, remember when Vince Evans was hospitalized? I heard a rumor as to why. I had not heard that rumor, Mule, so share that with me. Do you know much about Vince Evans, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, first off, Vince was still in the league when I was watching football.
Okay.
I guess after the Bears, he'd gone to the USFL for a bit and maybe Canada.
Right.
And then he showed up and got some playing time with the Raiders.
Correct.
Off and on. So I knew Vince Evans. I knew that he was a former Bear. And then in retrospect, I've gone back and watched a lot of Vince's playing days with the Bears because they are readily available, those games. You can get them.
Mm-hmm.
Conversely, I feel like I'm so saddened by the fact that I'll never get to see Sayers or Butkus because it's damn near impossible to get. None of the Super Bowls are one thing. You can get most of the Super Bowls and some playoff games, but for the most part, games before regular season games before 1977 are very scarce. Now I don't know why that is, but being a guy that's been buying games since 98, 9, somewhere through when eBay first came around, I'm like, well, fuck, I'm going to go. Yeah. I spent so much money buying those old games. And then, I would end up finding private people to buy them off of when eBay started, the NFL was cracking down on them because it was a wild, wild west at first. There's fuck copyright infringement. We're selling whatever we want on there. And a couple of years like that. So I took full advantage of it. But the point is those regular season games for Butkus and Sayers from 65 to the early 70s, they don't exist. And I'll never be able to see them. I'll never be able to see Jim Brown. And I would love to sit down and watch, like a regular season game of Jim Brown or Gale Sayers. But, all we've got is NFL films of it, not the actual network broadcast. And, of course, NFL films, as you and I have talked about many times, they don't really care about the legacy anymore since Steve Sable died.
I had a very close friend of mine who was a Browns fan. He was older than me, and so this was years ago. I bought him a VHS copy of Browns highlights from the Jim Brown era. And on the NFL Films box, it said, the material in this video was acquired or shot during a time where NFL Films did not have the standards that we do now. And so basically what they were telling you is, the camera is way up above. There's no slow motion replays with beautiful music or any of that stuff. And it's a shame. It's a shame. I've said this before. Even, you look at Michael Jordan's games and they're not on high definition. And that's just the 1990s. So it's so sad.
I've said this many times. I would love to go back and see, like for me, like I started seeing Jordan like when Doug Collins was coach, probably around 87, 88.
Yep.
So like if you were like going to show me some games of Jordan when Chicago's written in cursive on the jersey, like his rookie year, I would want to watch those all day.
Man,
like I would buy them now, like even on VHS. Like I would love to watch these old games, but it's like, and nobody else gives a shit.
Yeah, I had all those fucking games recorded. Oh well. 4,000 Clovers asked.
Well, hold on. Let's not let that go. What do you mean you had all these games recorded? And
I had almost every Bulls game from the Jordan era recorded on VHS tape.
In the 80s.
In the 80s, correct.
Okay, so what happened to those tapes?
I threw them all away.
What the fuck?
Because I thought,
you threw them away.
I thought this stuff will be easily available on DVD, and DVD is much better quality, so I got rid of them.
You really got rid of them, or you just mean they're like in the attic?
No, I threw them in the garbage can.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's like saying, I can't even come with an apt analogy.
It's like saying no if some hot chick says, please put your dick in me. It's like saying no. I think that's the perfect analogy.
Well, I'll just use my wedding, for example. It cost $25,000 on a fucking beach, which even at the time I thought was excessive because it was all for my wife,
Yeah, right.
But it's like you throw that $25,000 at a wedding, and then you end up divorced, in less than a decade, Look at all that money you wasted.
Fucking A.
You just fucking wasted. That's the best analogy I could come up with because I was going to say, well, fuck, when I come, you should let me take those tapes and put them to DVD for you. And
yeah. No, I don't have any of
you
them.
literally don't have any of them?
I'm 99% sure. I'm sure if I look around, I might find one VHS tape somewhere. But yeah, I got rid of them all. It was boxes and boxes. I mean, we're talking hundreds of tapes. So yeah,
that's the way I taped the Rockets games. I still have them.
Wow.
Mainly from the early Steve Francis years. I recorded all 82 games of the past then, because I didn't get the NBA League Pass until the year that Pippen had joined the Rockets. So I've got all of those games.
Chubb says Dan would let you peg him for those tapes.
Well, I mean, I don't want to go that far. But
neither do I.
Yeah, I would, and I'm not even a Bulls fan, and I would love to see some early Michael that I didn't see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sure that they weren't winning as much. I know the second year he hurt his foot, and I know the story about all of them, but I just didn't see any of those games. I mean, him being that young, just the athleticism and the rawness that would come with his dunks, it would just be amazing to watch.
It really was. I mean, yeah, the greedy Michael, and Michael was always a ball hug, but back then, before they started winning championships, I mean, there could be a fucking open guy all the way down court, and he could easily have lobbed it past for the guy to get an easy dunk. But he wouldn't do it. He'd fucking dribble it because he'd be afraid the guy would miss the shot. He had no.
Do you remember Stratomatic?
Oh yeah, sure.
The Stratomatic board games.
Yeah,
I swear to God, this is true. I didn't. This is before, my brother-in-law, who hates me now because he's a Trump person.
Mm-hmm.
And hates the fact that I didn't vote for Trump. Hates me. Like, he literally would say stuff to me like, a vote for Joe Biden was a vote for him to die.
For your brother-in-law?
To die. Like, he equates Trump losing with his own death. I'm not making that up.
Oh my God.
Now, he would deny hating me, but he constantly just jabs me with malicious text and just constantly argues and just doesn't even but he let Trump decide, where Trump was against baseball. Suddenly he quit watching baseball. He quit watching the NFL because of Kaepernick. He hates everything because of MAGA.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, before he was crazy in the early 90s, he had all these old Stratomatic games from his youth. And again, I was 13 when I met him, and he was in his 20s when he started dating my sister, and they got married pretty early. But we would play these old Stratomatic games from the 80s, and this is absolutely true. On the Stratomatic basketball, Michael Jordan was the only person that could shoot for the Bulls.
Is that right?
I swear. He was the only person on the team that allowed to shoot.
That's hilarious. I want to get this question in because I think you might have a better answer. 4,000 Clover says, Aldo, do you remember the 84 Bears versus Raiders game? Was it really talked about even at the time? You remember that game? Oh, you weren't.
I didn't watch it when it was live, but I have it. Yes, I have it. And that's the game where McMahon was pissing blood and lacerated his kidney.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yes.
I've seen it many times. What's the question about it?
Just do you remember and were people talking about the game a lot? I remember I actually had a flag football game at the time. And so got to the bar in time for the second half. And I think it was, I don't know if McMahon got the hit in the second half that caused the lacerated kidney. But I
think it was before the half, and they tried to play again in the second half, and then they just said, "You're pissing blood, man. Get the fuck out of here."
Okay, that makes sense. And so I remember just being a voracious reader of all the news stories at the time, watching every TV report at the time, because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we just got this quarterback. He's going to lead us to Super Bowls and stuff, and now it's typical Chicago Bears. He's hurt. And, lacerated kidney is nothing to sneeze about. So, yeah, 4,000 Clovers. It was here in Chicago at the time in the 80s. I was a swinging bachelor doing a lot of cocaine and fucking a lot. Yeah, it was something that was talked
Watching the game back, you've got Dick Enberg and Merlin Olsen, and they're acknowledging just the violence that you're seeing as being off the page. Even then, just the hits, because again, the Raiders are defending Super Bowl champions when they came in, and they were a team of bullies as well. You got like Lyle Alzado, you got Howie Long, you still got I think what's his name? The big tall guy, the 6'7" guy, was on the Colts team, and
Hendricks.
Yeah, Hendricks, I think, retired after their Super Bowl win. I think he's gone. But the most part of their defense is still intact. And they were tough guys. Fuck, Alzado fought Ali, for God's sake.
That's right.
But so you got two teams, like their whole mantra is to be tough. Two alpha male kind of teams. But it was so bad that because Plunkett was hurt coming into the game. So the Bears hurt Mark Wilson. And then they bring in, I think his name was David Hum. And David Hum just gets the fucking shit beaten out of him. And they have to bring Mark Wilson back in, who has like a broken wrist or something, because the third team quarterback that day was going to be Ray Guy. So they go to Ray Guy, of course, is a Hall of Fame NFL punter from everyone, the best punter the league's ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
The first guy that would even be acknowledged to make the Hall of Fame as a punter. They go to Raymond Guy and say, "Hey, are you ready to go in there?" And he's like, "I'm not going in."
No fucking way.
He's like, "I'm not going in that." He refused on the sidelines to go into the game. So Mark Wilson, who's already hurt and has like a broken wrist or something, has to go back in the game.
Yes.
And is still being punished when he shouldn't even be in the game.
This is great.
Because they didn't have anybody.
This is great. This is all bringing back memories. Excellent. Yes. Yeah. Ray Guy was not only the best punter, but he was also the smartest man.
He's like, "I'm not going in there. Nope, I'm not going in there."
That is good. Great question from the factory. He says, he asked both of us, have you ever cried because of a sports game or season?
Yeah, I always cry when it's something positive. Like, I know you cried when Parkey missed.
Yep.
I didn't cry. I guess I'd rarely cry whenever there's something negative. I usually cry like a Dick Vermeil, Jim Valvano kind of thing, when it's something positive. Like I mentioned to Kramer last week, and it's true, when the Bears were 0-7, and they go to Miami and they're down 33-18 in the fourth quarter, 0-7, and they come back to tie it and then go and win in overtime. When Jaeger made that field goal, I cried.
Yeah.
I don't know, just being 0-7 and finally winning a game, man. Like, I did cry.
Yeah.
I did.
I cried a lot during the Bulls dynasty on the famous Father's Day game where Jordan breaks down at center court and then in the locker room crying because it was the first championship he had won without his dad being there. I cried almost as much as he did. I cried in the first NBA championship, just so happy that the Bulls finally won a championship and happy for Michael and Scotty and the guys. I cried. I've cried a lot of times during big victories and great moments. Just get, either a good ball or just get, a little teary eyed. That's how much sports means to me. It's the drama.
I cried when we went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Against the Saints, when it was obvious, when Thomas Jones broke contain and it went the opposite way, like the play was supposed to go right and he went completely to the left because he was going to be bottled up, and he got outside and then scored. When Thomas Jones scored and it was like 2 minutes to go or whatever, and it was obvious that the Bears were going to the Super Bowl. And I felt like at that time, man, this is our first championship game since '88. I was 8 years old, and I cared at 8 too. So it's not like I'm an 8-year-old who doesn't know what's going on. Now, I don't know as much as I do now, but I cared. And here I am at 26. I've waited 18 years to be back in the championship game, and we're going to win. And the crowd is the snow and the crowd and yeah. So I was definitely crying. When we were going to the Super Bowl. I didn't even care who we played because the Colts and Patriots played afterwards. I was like, well, I hate Manning and Brady both. So, I don't give a shit, man. The second game, the Patriots were like up big and Indianapolis came back to win. But I didn't even care. I just was like so in the zone for us actually going to the Super Bowl that it didn't matter who we played. I just didn't care. I just thought, well, let's just go win it. I don't give a fuck who we play. But that's the kind of zone I was in. Like the AFC Championship didn't even matter because I was just in awe that we were going to Miami. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Chubbs thinks I should get my estrogen checked because I cry so much. There was a good one here. Oh, Gary, just another good one. There's a lot of good ones. Gary asks, am I Dan or Aldo when I say I cried when they let Leno go? I think that's an obvious one. That's a gimme.
Right.
You ever cried, Dan, when a player has left the team?
Yeah, again, I was a kid, but when McMahon got traded to San Diego, I heard it on the FM radio in the car with my mom and dad that day when it had just happened. It was real late in the preseason, and I cried, but I was 8, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was a kid, but I cried.
Well, Hugh Evans says that he cried when Brian Robinson blocked the kick in the famous Walter Payton game.
That was a great game. I loved, I thought it was ridiculous that Robinson said that Walter picked him up or whatever, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was happy to win the game, and Chris Boniol was extremely happy that we won that game. If you remember, he had just missed a chip shot.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, man. Yeah, that's right. Chris Boniol. Jeez.
He still would get cut a few weeks later because he just kept missing.
Yeah. Ted Hendricks lives in Elk Grove, which is a suburb not too far from where I live, according to, I think it was Gary that said that. So how can I find Ted Hendricks if he lives in Elk Grove? I would love to interview him.
David Kaplan said he played golf with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he didn't realize who he was at first, and that I forget the exact story. He just, he's an older retired guy now, so he's not in the same kind of mass muscle shape that he was, 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still huge because he's 6'7", but he said that Hendricks was a complete gentleman.
Mm. Steven says, will I cry after the sex you and I have in Cleveland if Dan doesn't hold you afterwards? That's good. Hold me down or I'll cry.
There'll be no sex. We just want some Bears victories. I told you the Bears have never won a game with me in the house.
That's right. By the way, it's funny that came up because my wife was talking to my stepdaughter. They were talking about the Cleveland trip that you and I are taking. And my stepdaughter asked, what hotel are you staying at? And so my wife tells her because she booked the rooms. And she goes, yeah, they got a suite. It's got 2 nice bedrooms, both of them master beds, and there's a sleep sofa in the suite area, in the middle area. So there's plenty of room and so forth. All I'm thinking about dancing girls, strippers. And then my wife looks at me and says, yeah, you need to get there first before Dan. I go, why? Because one bedroom is bigger than the other one. And I go, oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know. So I will be there.
I'm dependent on you because the room is in, your name. So I can't get in there before you. And furthermore, I don't care. Like I said, I was going to stay at a 3-star hotel that day.
We're staying at
you got us in a 5. So
yeah. Well, we're walking distance to the stadium, less than a mile. Isn't that cool?
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I can't wait. My wife takes good care of me. I got to take good care of her someday. What else is going on? People in the chat room are just all over the place talking about what they cried, what game they went to. So, by the way, did you know that the Mad Stork, Ted Hendricks, 6'7", he married a flight attendant? Wow.
I did not know that.
I would love to meet her.
Former Green Bay Packer, too.
Chubbs wants to meet us at the 5-star hotel and make it a threesome.
My goal is to have no homosexual sex at either of these weekends.
So
not that there's anything wrong with it.
That's right. Not that there's anything wrong with it, except if my ass is involved.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. No, I digress. Go ahead.
What's been going on in the Dan Aguirre sex life?
Oh man, I've been busy. I haven't seen any ladies at all. So
really,
yeah, God, I worked 70 hours last week. So, yeah, it's all I've done. And now I'm hoping that later today, or tomorrow, but technically it's my same work day today, this morning, that I don't get sick from the third COVID shot. I assume they'll let me have it because you're supposed to be 8 months. And like my last date of taking it was January 29th, and today's going to be September 1st. So I assume there'll be no trouble, or maybe they'll make me wait another 3 weeks. I don't know, but it was booked online, the appointment, and you had to put your date in there of your last shot and still let me book it. But where it's today or tomorrow now, again, it's still one work day for me, like Tuesday night into Wednesday, so it will technically be September 1st really soon, and that's my ex-wife's birthday.
Okay.
So I just think it's the irony is maybe I get sick and fucking die from the shot because it's Marissa's birthday.
No, that won't happen. People want to know in the chat room, what's the latest with Brandy?
Brandy was watching us earlier. I don't know if she still is. So
people were speculating that she may have dumped you.
We're not committed, but no, we're fine. Like Brandy and I are fine. Brandy's coming to your house in October. So
that is right. So for those who don't know, Brandy and Dan will be staying at the honeymoon suite here at the Gandia residence. The following week after Cleveland, Dan landed some tickets to the Bears game. It's Detroit and the Bears. And so I'll have the cameras set up in the honeymoon suite.
Oh my God. I wouldn't disrespect your house with sex in your house.
Oh, come on. Please.
The goal is to watch the Bears win, I hope, and potentially go see shit in Chicago that I've only seen on TV.
Brandy says that she is still in the chat room and wants to know where the cameras are going to be located. She wants to smile for the camera. No, I made that
we get the money shot, right?
Yes. I made that last part up. Brandy, hi, how are you doing? We should get her back on here for the last 15 minutes. What do you say?
I'm fine with it, man.
All right. Let me, how do I get her on here? Let me see. I think I have her. Let's see. Copy that. Sing a song for us, Dan.
Brandy's been going through some extreme adversity lately too that I don't necessarily want to put over if she doesn't want me to say it. So she's been going through some deep emotional shit. So
oh wow. Well, we won't talk about that unless she wants to, because I've got a degree in psychology.
Someone really close to her passed away.
Oh no!
I'll just say that.
That sucks. How do I'm trying to remember how I got the link to her last time. Brandy, you want to come on? Say yes, Brandy, please. Say yes. Say yes.
Well, I've got 27 minutes to go here, so.
Well, we just want her on for a quickie, so to speak. Sure. All right. So your Twitter handle, Brandy, that's where I got it to you last time, and for some reason I can't find it. Let's see, at Brandy. Brandy. There's Forever Brandy. There's Brandy Zadrunsky. There's Brandy Jensen, but none of the Brandies that I know and love. Brandy, send me on Twitter at the barroom. Send me a message on the DM. We're going to get Brandy on here, and she's going to disclose what it is that Dan does in bed that makes him so popular with the ladies.
Oh, God.
You do have a lot of sex with different women.
Well, I'm not married.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not cheating.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I've said many times, at the time, I thought that I was never going to have sex with another lady again, and I was okay with that.
Wow. It's heavy stuff, man.
Hey, she's the one that, she wanted to go elsewhere, so she did. Yeah. I guess she's happy. So,
have you talked to her recently?
No, not really. I'm sure I'll probably send her a happy birthday text. Just out of sheer, like, just trying to be a good guy kind of thing. She'll be 34 in an hour, so.
In an hour, man.
Well, yeah, because I'm an hour ahead of you. It'll be midnight for us here in an hour. So anyway, American Horror Story.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Season 10, it was delayed because of COVID. I started on Wednesday of last week. They did 2 episodes. I don't exactly know what the story is yet. Basically, you can take a pill, and if you have talent, it will exacerbate that talent. Like if you could play guitar really well, but you just can't write your hit, it will make you immediately, like Eddie Van Halen or so, like Dimebag Darrell, some person that can shred a guitar. But if you take it and you have no fucking talent, it basically just makes you a junkie. So that's a plot. But the thing is, like, if you take it, you suddenly crave human blood. So you have to eat humans. That's from what I can gather so far. And just for sheer notoriety or the novelty, considering he and I are the same age and he became a star when we were 10 and I fucking hated him for it. Macaulay Culkin is in the cast. I hated Home Alone, though.
Oh, really? Macaulay. I got him confused with the younger Culkin, who is really having a nice career as an actor.
Kieran Culkin.
Kieran Culkin. He is one of the excellent cast members on the TV series Succession, which is going to restart soon, and I can't wait. 2 seasons of Succession have been great TV. It's sort of like a Trump family, and all of them are fighting. All the kids and in-laws are fighting for control of this multi-billion-dollar corporation, and the head of the family is this devious capitalist.
It reminds me of Rupert Murdoch for some reason.
Yeah, so you've seen it.
I've seen a trailer. It looked shitty to me. I didn't watch it.
I highly recommend it. I think you'll like it. I really do.
I don't like Billions either. Everybody says I should like Billions. I just can't get into that. On Showtime.
It's good. What are you talking about? You can't get into it.
I don't like that Paul Giamatti guy or whatever his fucking name is. I don't
Really? You don't like Paul Giamatti? What a great actor.
He's okay, I guess.
Oh my gosh. Look who is on TV with us right now. It is Brandy. Yes. You look very nice, Brandy.
Oh, thanks.
Not surprised.
I'm in my pajamas, so.
Tell us about what is it that makes Dan Aguirre such a sex god?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I don't know if I can describe that, but he just is.
See, I wasn't making that up.
I think honestly, if I'm going to brag on myself, just from talking to women, in my life, whether I fuck them or not, I feel like one of the discernible factors about me versus a lot of people is it just seems like so many other guys don't give a shit if the girl comes or not. So, like, if you put forth that concerted effort to make sure that they get theirs, I mean, it just seems like the rest of everything else is cake.
Can you vouch for him trying to do that, Brandy?
Oh, yeah, he always does his best.
What's his batting average?
Oh, he's batting 1,000. So yeah.
Oh,
that's very kind, but I would say that I'll compare myself to a former Major League Baseball player, Rob Deere. I'm batting like 230, but I've got like 37 homers. So it's just you just never know. Like I'm inconsistent. You know what I mean? Like I remember we went to her birthday weekend. We went to that garbage Alanis Morissette thing, the concert. The night before, I was so tired. I just had no oomph with my fucking dick at all. Like I just had nothing there. Thankfully, she still came unless she faked it. But either way, I felt like I did the absolute minimum. I just did not have it. but I got through it. And then the next night, I felt like, well, fuck, I can be a star tonight. So just at 40, it's the way it kind of is. You just never know what player's going to show up.
You want to comment on that, Brandy?
Well, I was gonna comment on that weekend too, because the first night I got up there, he was really, really tired, and we were just gonna go to sleep. But yeah, he made sure things happened, so that was very considerate. And then when we got back from the concert, Saturday night, going into Sunday morning, he was just exhausted. But yeah, and so it was like neither one of us were probably had much energy, but it still happened and it was excellent.
Good. PJ
Yeah, it
wants
was
to
one
know.
of those things I didn't think I had it, and then I kind of went in and I was like, hey, we're on to something here.
PJ wants
Yeah,
to know.
I've been holding on to that all week. So yeah, so maybe we can have a repeat.
Nice. Brandy, are you the type of lady that wouldn't mind being videotaped while having sex with Dan?
Oh no, I'm not in on this at all.
I was asking her.
Yeah, but I look like a fucking grizzly bear, or not a grizzly bear, a polar bear.
We don't want to see you on camera. We want to see Brandy on camera.
That's exactly why I don't want to be on camera. Is my point.
BJ,
Trust me, you don't want to see the rest of this on camera.
Oh, yes, we do. Yes, we do. BJ wants to know, why don't you guys already call yourselves a couple? Come on now.
It's logistics for one thing, and life for another. So
yeah, I know how that is. My girlfriends used to say the same thing, even though they lived across the street. Well,
I live 2 states away, so it's
wow,
it's not easy,
What? How long of a drive is it? 100 miles?
It's right at 2.5 hours.
Okay, yeah, that's
Just
a lot.
that 2.5 hours.
That's a lot. But by the
And
time
she drives 2.5 hours to have my penis, Aldo. How does that make you feel?
That's remarkable, man.
Yeah, well, I must be doing okay.
I'm trying to think of who's driven.
He's worth it.
He's worth it, huh? Damn. I'm gonna make one of those commercials where Dan and have Brandy's quote saying he's worth it.
And he's just a great guy. I just like being with him. He's just fun to be with. I just really like him. So.
Look at that, Dan.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's a big. I take that more as a compliment than even like the sex stuff, for real.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, I do. I mean, like I'm not easy to be around sometimes. I have. I could see I'm usually the kind of guy either you really like or you really fucking don't like. It's like,
no.
And Dan is he's a really serious guy. Like, you might not get that because he's always joking and laughing on here, but he's a real serious guy. So you need to loosen him up a little bit.
Yeah. I had
that's why my ex-wife was always telling me that she likes the way she described it. She said, I love drunk Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because she said I was always so fun if I was drinking.
Well, I've never met drunk Dan, so I can't say.
Maybe you and I will get him drunk in Chicago, Brandy.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Drunk Brandy's pretty fun too, but
oh, cool.
I definitely want to go see Mike Ditka's restaurant.
Yeah, I think the one in Oak Brook is still open. The one in the city, I've been told, is closed. So
how could the one in Chicago be closed? That's the one that should be open forever.
Yeah, I think it had the pandemic really did them in, and so. But yeah, you're right. But the one in Oak Brook,
how far away is the one you were just talking about that's still open?
From where I live, it's about a 30-minute drive, even less than that.
So it's doable still.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely go.
Do they have like his memorabilia and things like that in there?
Tons of stuff.
I definitely want to see that, man.
You guys will enjoy it, and you guys will enjoy the food as well.
It's too bad the Cubs wouldn't still be playing. I'd like to see Wrigley.
Mm-hmm. Look at PJ. He's already trying to get you guys married.
For fuck's sake, man. Come on, now pump the brakes.
He says in a year, both of you guys will be married. PJ,
let's pump the fucking brakes. There's no disrespect to Brandy at all.
I wouldn't pump the brakes. Go for it, man. Brandy, would you like to get married?
Yeah, I would like to get married again one day. Yes.
Have some kids?
I'm too old. My kids are grown.
47.
I'm 47.
Doesn't matter. This is a new America.
My daughter's going to be 24 on Friday. No, I'm done. I'm done.
Really?
That's another reason me and Dan, he wants kids and I'm 47.
Well,
So.
I'm not necessarily dead set on wanting children, but that's the one thing I guess that I am weary or reticent of just slamming the door shut, because I feel like I'm at the cusp of if I do that, then I'm definitely never going to be a dad, you know. But if I, at this point, I kind of feel like I'm not going to be anyway. It just didn't happen when I was married, you know. So that was probably my time. And I don't want to just like knock some random woman up, you know, just to be a dad. And I definitely don't want to be a child support dad. Like, you see your kid once every 3 weeks and here's the check. You know, I don't want to be that guy. But it's complicated, you know, it's fuck, man, whatever. That's the cool thing about Brandy is I don't have to, you know, just revel in all that shit. We just have a good time together.
That's good. Where's my voice? That's good. I tried to say.
You sound like Brando on The Godfather.
And by the way, I recorded Missouri Breaks, the Western that you recommended.
Yeah. Did you watch it yet?
I haven't seen it yet, but I will get to it.
Hey, you should watch that documentary. My friend Joey told me I should watch it, and it's really kind of makes you sad. But Val Kilmer, like, videoed everything in his life, like everything. He had a brother that died really young and has all this video footage of all the stuff that they would do when they were kids, stuff on movie sets, and now he can't talk. And it's really sad, but there's so much footage from like the movie sets that he's on. Like, he's talking to Brando, who's in a fucking like hammock swinging or something.
Mm-hmm.
And like, he's in a big argument with John Frankenheimer. And Frankenheimer's telling him to turn off the camera. He was like, I'm not turning off the fucking camera. I need evidence. He's like, all the shit that you're creating with all this actors here. You know, and he's like, we're ready to rehearse now. You're the one that's holding us up. Yeah. So, but it's cool. It's on Prime.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
You just search Val Kilmer and it comes up immediately. It's from 2021.
Yeah, I've seen it a few times.
It's really sad. Like, watching this guy like lose his ability to talk. He has his son narrating all of his work, but it's Val's words, you know. But it's definitely worth your time. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to watch it again, but like for 2 hours, it's riveting shit. If you like Val Kilmer.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are saying that they love Val Kilmer, but they won't watch the doc because it's just so hard to watch. Poor dude. I didn't know he was in such bad shape. I really didn't.
Well, he says like, because he does talk on it, and but you have to have subtitles for it. He says he sounds and looks a lot worse than he feels. You know, because he's got that trach, and he has to push a button to talk, and it just took his voice away from him altogether. You know,
I think I might pass on that.
But just seeing all the old footage from the 80s and stuff is really cool, like on movie sets and things.
Yeah, I love
like
the
the
behind
stuff
the
with
scenes
him
stuff.
and Brando, like, is why I brought this up.
Yeah, I love by the way, a lot of people in the chat room are trying to determine what Brandy and Dan Aguirre kids would be like, what they would, you know. So somebody has said that they would be little brainiacs with photographic memories.
I guess.
Zach says they would be little Necros. What's a Necro? Do you know what that is, Randy?
A what?
Oh, necrophiliacs. So for some reason, Dan shared a story episodes ago that gave people the impression that he's into necrophilia, which is not true.
What was the story?
I don't remember, but a lot of people have maybe just, I don't know. Maybe they're just making that up.
I've definitely never fucked or come near fucking someone that's dead. So,
what about you, Brandy? Just kidding.
No, I've done some freaky stuff, but not that.
Yeah, I don't think I would fuck anybody dead. So I
No?
don't think I don't know what I could have said to make people think that I would.
I don't know. So just some of the things you've said. And have you seen some of these episodes, Brandy, where Dan has recalled some of his past sexual accomplishments?
I haven't gone back and watched, but I might. I'm curious now.
Yeah, I'm curious. Maybe what I should do is I should edit all those segments together and put out a special. I bet you it'll be one of our highest rated shows.
I would watch that.
Zach says the reason he wrote that about the necrophilia is he thought that Dan was a paramedic.
No, I'm not a paramedic. I work for 911, but I just take the fucking calls.
So Brandy, we've got the honeymoon suite here at the house when you and Dan come over, and so for some reason Dan says he's not going to have sex in my home. I
mean, that would be disrespectful, would it not?
Not for me.
I mean, your wife is there. You know, I mean, fuck, man. It's like your castle. Your kids grew up there. I can't fucking.
This is a real guest room, and none of my kids have ever slept in this room.
Well, still, man, I gotta share respect. Like, God, I could keep it in my pants for a fucking weekend, man.
What do you think, Brandy?
If Dan's not gonna do anything, then I guess we're not doing anything.
Oh well, come into my bedroom.
I mean, wouldn't that be disrespectful though?
I'll ask my wife and see how she feels about it. Maybe my wife.
I think it would be. I don't know.
It's kind of a slippery slope.
So what are we talking about here? What exactly is slippery?
Somebody else's house. It's kind of weird. So I don't know.
Well, I can arrange it that the entire family will leave the house, and that way you guys can have sex anywhere, any room in the house.
Oh my
God, that's hilarious. Brandy, do you like movies and TV, right? Have you seen anything that you'd like to share with people and tell people you need to watch this or stay away from it?
I'm not much of a. I mean, I watch some things, but I'm not a big movie buff, so I can't say. No, I'm sorry.
PJ says that the reason you guys won't have sex in my home is because you know that I'll be creeping down the hallway. PJ knows me really well. We grew up in the same era. I guess that's why. Oh gosh.
Will we be sleeping in the same bed that Phil slept in?
Actually, yes.
How about that?
Yeah, exactly. I think we've watched the sheets since then. It's been 2 or 3 years. No, you're gonna like this room. It's the sheets are like this Egyptian. What's that called? The thread count. It's like really high. The sheets in the guest bedroom are better than the sheets in the master bedroom.
I could stay at a fucking Motel 6. I'm fine. That's what I'm saying. Like, I will appreciate whatever you got. I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to be critical of anything, you know.
No, we want our guests.
Now, if you didn't have running water, I would be like a little put off.
No, you're gonna have to let the hot water run a little before it gets hot. But other than that, you're gonna enjoy the accommodations.
Yeah, I'm sure. I just hope it's not raining the whole drive out or something, you know.
Steven
That's
says
a long drive.
Yeah, it is. Steven says slippery slope is what Aldo calls speeders. Jesus. What is going on? PJ recommends, Brandy, that you look for hidden cameras when you first check into the honeymoon suite here at the Gandia Palace. Yeah, have any of you guys ever videotaped yourself having sex? I know Brandy says that that's not what she's into, but maybe, you know, it's happening.
In my younger 20s, okay. I would conveniently edit any footage of me out of it. So I've got some footage of like girls from, you know, like the early 2000s and late 90s and stuff, but there's all evidence of me being in those footage. They were, it's like the 18.5-minute gap in the fucking Watergate tapes. Like, I'm conveniently out of them. Even when they start to give me head, it just kind of cuts away and stuff. But I have footage of like ladies from my past. Like, I don't want to say I was Rob Lowe or something, but you know, in the late 90s, early 2000s, I filmed a couple ladies, but not since. I really haven't, because it's just weird now. I think maybe I've on my phone, I probably have just like random ladies here or there blowing me or something, but it never really like videotape. I used to have a video. The reason I stopped video taping stuff, and I kind of regret it now, is because by the time let's say I got close to 25 or 30, just seeing things from like my teenage years was making me really sad. Just the time passing, as people start to die, and so I would go back, and this old footage would make me sad. So I stopped videotaping it, and I missed out on so many things that I probably should have videoed. Like I know I have no video footage of my ex-wife, none. I don't mean sexually, just none. I just didn't do it. I know I videotaped my nephew when he was 7. He's 20 now. I took him to his first Bears game when he was 7. And I have footage of that. I don't know if I've ever put it onto DVD. It's like on 8mm or something. But that's probably the last thing I ever videoed.
You don't have video from that $25,000 wedding?
We have a DVD, and it's really shitty. Like, we were both so upset. Like, because Marissa's dad died really soon after the wedding.
I'm sorry for laughing.
No, that's okay. I mean, you didn't know where I was going with it. But he gave a speech and stuff, and the fucking filmographer like just didn't include. He included whatever he wanted, and like cut his speech. And then we asked for the raw material. He's like, I've already recorded over it. Then he inserted songs that neither one of us liked. Like he put in that Train song, Hey Soul Sister. We both fucking hate that song. But he put that in there, and we were both like, what the fuck is this? You know, so he did a bunch of shit with our wedding stuff that we didn't like. It's a metaphor for everything. It just turns out it didn't work. Yeah. Not even the goddamn wedding video worked.
Brandy, does it bother you when Dan talks about his ex-wife?
No, I have an ex-husband.
She was married once.
I asked her, Dan. Let her speak for herself. Do you find that he interrupts you a lot?
Not really.
That was a yes.
I'm sorry.
The only reason I asked that question was because Chubb says, Dan, please stop talking about your ex-wife. Your girlfriend's on TV with you.
I don't have a girlfriend, but again, like Brandy and I talk about these kind of things. Brandy's talked a lot about her ex-husband.
We got a lot of comments in the chat room. Laz says that those eyes on the picture on the wall in the room that you guys will be staying at, those eyes moving, belong to Aldo. Bear True says they'll be having sex, and I can totally see Dan hearing Aldo's laugh in the back of his mind the whole time. Chubb says I actually agree. I think Aldo probably does have cameras, and it's no joke. You know what? It's funny is I've always wanted to direct a sex scene. I mean, a full penetration pornography scene. So if you guys are up for it, let me know.
I don't have the body for that. I just don't.
I think that makes it interesting to me. You should be ashamed of your body.
It is what it is. Like I said, I'm more like one of the fucking Coca-Cola polar bears that are coming out around Christmas.
Ditto.
We've got people in the chat room volunteering to be production assistants on that production. All right, it is time for Dan to go to work. It is time now for Brandy and I to close the show. So, Dan, after you leave, Brandy and I are going to continue to talk, okay?
That's fine. That's very well. I was going to tell you before I go, I got a box of Blu-rays today of films I've never seen, but I don't know if you're a horror movie guy, so I don't know if you've seen any of them either. Just movies that for some reason I never got around to. And I bought them today. Like I said, on Blu-ray. Well, I bought them about a week ago. They finally arrived today. The Salem's Lot from 79 or 78, whatever.
Pretty good movie.
I never watched it. I saw it on TBS a lot as a kid. I was like, oh, fuck this, you know. The sequel, A Return to Salem's Lot. I got, there's a trilogy. I assume this will be really bad, but I got it anyway. It's Alive. It's Alive Again.
Great
and it's
movies.
Alive, Island of the Alive Part 3.
Great movies.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you like schlocky horror movies, there's an excellent documentary on the movie maker who made those movies. It's Alive. I mean, he's become a kind of a cult legend, as a cult legend status. I'll try to find the name of that doc because it would be cool for you to watch the documentary before watching those It's Alive movies. It'll be fun for you.
All right. I ordered one. It hasn't come in yet. I pre-ordered. It's an early 80s film I've never watched called Alone in the Dark.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a bunch of special features. And one that I did like a lot as a kid, it was directed by Wes Craven, even though it was PG-13. So it wasn't that good, but it came on HBO a lot, circa 86, 7, called Deadly Friend. It's got Christy Swanson in it. But yeah, I just ordered that too because Shout Factory's got like an anniversary, like 35th anniversary set of it. What else did I get? A movie called Killer Party, again from 86, which could be awful, but it's all horror movies I haven't seen with the exception of Deadly Friend.
Well, cool. Enjoy those movies. You're headed to 911 now. You're expecting a busy night?
Probably. It's going to be the first, man. So that means domestics, drug overdoses, those kind of things. People are getting their drug money today.
Yeah. Hang in there, man. I know that can be taxing on somebody with listening to all that depressed stuff.
Well, you all have fun. I'm gonna go, I guess. All right.
Yeah, get out of here. I'm gonna hit on Brandy now.
Good night. I'll text you later.
No, Brandy, stay. Stay, Brandy.
Okay, I'll stay.
Okay. Bye, Dan. Oh, he's gone. Now it's just the two of us. Brandy, I've noticed that he doesn't let you talk. What's going on there?
It's only on here. Like when we're together, it's not a big deal. But I don't know. I guess he's just wants context on here. I don't know what he's trying to do.
Okay. Seems like maybe he's like trying to stop you from saying something. Maybe.
I don't know what I could say that would be bad.
All right. Well, I'm going to chastise him when you're in Chicago. If he interrupts you like that, I'm going to chastise him.
All right.
I'll spank him. Get him ready for you. You ever play any S&M games?
I was actually part of the scene here several years ago, so I did lots of things.
Oh wow, cool. Care to share a story?
I don't really have a lot of stories, but it's I got to do a lot of interesting things. I took classes. I was a volunteer. They used to have every year. They used to have a big like a big con at the big hotel in High Point. And I was a volunteer one year. So I had to just oversee some of the different rooms and make sure everybody was, okay. Cool. Everybody had their badges to be there. It was a fun time.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I got to do a lot of, like I said, but it's kind of funny because, people are like, well, what's your biggest fantasy? I'm like, there's nothing I haven't done. You can't impress me. There's
nothing at all.
Not really. You name it, I've probably done it or seen it.
All right, let me see. Sex with another woman. Yes, of course, right?
Check.
Sex with more than 2 other partners, so a foursome or more.
Oh no, that's too many. I don't have I don't have that kind of focus. I'm not that talented.
but a threesome?
Yeah.
Okay. Another woman and a man, or what was the combination? Can you share that?
I've had both combinations.
Ooh, interesting. So this has happened more than once, more than twice?
Probably more than twice.
Wow. Jeez. People in the chat room think that I'm trying to make a move on you. I don't know where they would get that idea from.
I don't know. You have a beautiful wife. I've seen your Facebook page.
Oh. Did I tell you that she's leaving me?
Right.
After she hears this interview, she will. Well, you're a delight. I can't wait to meet you in person. It is what 4 weeks from now, right?
Yeah, I'm excited. Like I can't even describe it.
Well, and I gotta tell you, if you guys are not gonna have sex in my home, I hope that you have sex in the car on the way, and that you take pictures. Of course, I'm a very visual person.
I don't think there's going to be any pictures out there.
Thank you for putting up with our nonsense here. Brandy, you're more than welcome to come on next week's show and just give us updates on what's going on with Brandy's life. We should do a segment on the show called Brandy's Bulletin Board or something like that.
Okay.
That'd be fun.
There's not much happening.
All right. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Dan and Aldo and Brandy Bare Their Souls. We will be here next week, same time, same station. And don't forget all of our other great programming that we have. What's tomorrow? Wednesday? We got the Bar Down hockey. You like hockey, Brandy?
You know, I don't mind watching hockey. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, man. If it's too bad that the Blackhawks are not playing because one of the great sporting events in Chicago is going to a Blackhawks game, and I would say in the entire country, because they have such a sensational open to the game with the music and the light show, and the fans, are cheering during the national anthem. It's just so great. And so even if you don't like hockey, I dare you not to enjoy going to a Blackhawks game at the very least for, a good portion of it. So maybe we'll get you down here during the winter months and grab some tickets to a hockey game. And if you want to leave Dan behind, we can do that. So next show is the Bar Down, and we've got some other tons of bear stuff coming up. So make sure you let your friends know that not only do we have Bears content, Blackhawks content, but we also have Brandy content too. Brandy, say good night to all your friends.
Good night.